Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pete and Jeremy's DnDTime special news this evening as we discuss the new Unearthed Arcana class feature variant. I'm Jeremy, and I'm brought here with my co-host,
Pete. That's me. Pete, big news. Shatback 58. That's my full
We got some
name.
crazy news tonight, guys. Unearthed Arcana just came out, yesterday, I think, and it is pretty radical. A lot of new ideas here.
It is, well, it very well may shake the game to its very core. Assuming this is being published in a future thing that makes it more official, but right now it's still playtest content, but it's definitely going to be giving us a lot of insight into maybe what directions 5e is going to be going.
Yeah, this is a radical change-up. We're going to be talking about a little bit how we feel about it, what's good, what's bad, all that stuff. And yeah, I'm very, very excited to talk about this. This is a very big deal. Hello, chat. Farfel13. Yes, I am, in fact, standing.
Let's address the Jeremy in the room.
Today. Yeah, we're going to address Jeremy in the room. I have my great standing energy, and I'm going to see how this plays out. I'm just trying it. We're going to see how it works. I've got my desk, up, which maybe was a mistake. We're going to find out, though.
I am super jealous of Jeremy right now on the standing situation that he's in. I wish I could stand. My setup's not equipped for it. Otherwise, I would stand. Matty Morgs just subscribed for a 14th month. Thank you. 14 months.
Saying, yes. 14 months. It looks like y'all got dragged into a stream tonight instead of taking it off. Hopefully someone you know didn't contact Wizards of the Coast to arrange that. Well, I'll tell you, we're okay with talking about this tonight because we're both very, very, very excited about this.
Yes.
Big deal.
As I was saying, it looks like, we were taking the day off originally, but I would way rather talk about this than take a day off. Me and Jeremy have not discussed the new content at all.
That's going to be our kind of MO going forward for these Unearthed Arcana reviews.
Yeah.
We did it last week, and we really liked the way it went. We're both just going in totally blind of how each other feel, and I think that adds a lot to the discussion. You get our more genuine reactions and feedback and thoughts.
Indeed.
Read it a couple times.
Yes. Because there is a lot to take in here.
You could say there's a lot.
But yes, it's good to see everyone here hanging out. Jeremy, we didn't talk about this. Do we want to do Ask Pete and Jeremy tonight? We got probably more than we usually do.
Of course. Feel free to go ahead, jump in our Discord channel. You can get a link to that in the chat right now. We have a thread called Ask Pete and Jeremy. Leave your comments and questions there. Anything really goes. Doesn't have to be about this Unearthed Arcana or DnDTime. It can be about anything Dungeons and Dragons or just our kind of personal feelings on things. What's their favorite animal, etc. You can go crazy with it. So,
Indeed.
Yeah, if you got questions, go ahead and throw them in there.
And if you got comments as we're moving through today's content, we very much want to hear those because I'm, beyond my own opinion, I'm really interested in what everyone thinks of this because this is a big one.
Here. Yeah, there's so much in this release here. This isn't just another subclass. This is a radical change to how the game is going to be played in the future, assuming these things come to pass.
Indeed.
So, and are actually published. And that's a really important thing to discuss because this is going to shape. This is 5.5e for all intents and purposes.
And for anyone that is interested in following along who hasn't had the opportunity to read it now, I'm going to go ahead and link that right here. This is the document that we're going to be going over and reviewing today. Let's start getting into it. Jeremy, you want to just remind people a little bit about what the Unearthed Arcana is?
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. So this Unearthed Arcana, it's so important because it is class feature variants. This Arcana goes back to a lot of the core classes that exist in the player's handbook that have been otherwise pretty much unchanged since the game started, and for good reason. They're in a published book that people own. You can't just change that. Well, and this just changes it. This just goes back and takes a lot of those things and says, well, maybe you should use this instead, this ability instead of this other one. So it makes a lot of changes, and some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be bad, but it's going to be very interesting to talk about it nonetheless. So these are class feature variants. As you level up in a class, you get class features, like rogues get sneak attack, for example, or barbarians get rage. These are options to take either in place of one of those existing class features or that enhance those existing class features. And the enhance part is probably what we want to talk about first as the most potentially dangerous. At least my thoughts right off the bat. What do you think?
Absolutely. Some of these enhancements, I found a couple of them were a little over the top, but some of them were pretty reasonable. It's just when you're adding power to a system, 5e isn't a perfect system, but I would say it is at least relatively balanced. Over time, as things go further and people experiment more, different classes have emerged as stronger than others, but for the most part, it's balanced. And just stacking more power on top of that balance is, well, it's difficult to call that power creep in this instance because it's modifying the base game rather than adding new content over it, but it can throw a delicate system out of whack.
Yeah, and it's going to be pretty crazy. I mean, there's a lot of changes. The biggest potential issue with enhancements, and we'll talk about this as we go through, is an enhancement becomes required once it's out. If this is published in a book, a new expansion, and you go to play one of these classes that has an ability that's enhanced, well, if you're playing without the enhanced ability that's in the other book, you're just worse. You're just a worse bard or a worse rogue or a worse whatever.
Yeah.
And that could be a big problem for a lot of people. So I know right off the bat, my thoughts is if these are ever finalized, I would really like to see them released on a more permanent basis for free. At least the enhanced. But let's go through and talk about them a little bit. So
I would love to talk about this first thing that we have here, and that is something you're going to see pretty consistently throughout this.
Can I just read the disclaimer first? It's kind of important here.
Sure, go ahead.
So all of the articles kind of start with, this is playtest content. The material in this article is presented for playtesting and to spark your imagination. The game mechanics are in draft form, usable in your campaign, but not refined by final game design. They aren't officially part of the game and aren't permitted in D&D Adventurers League events. If we decide to make this material official, it will be refined based on your feedback and then appear in a D&D book. I want to read that one because, honestly, I think that's bullshit. Almost all of the Unearthed Arcanas, if not all of them, that have come out, with a few rare exceptions like the Artificer, have actually just gone into a book, pretty much whole cloth. Yeah. There have been a few tweaks here and there to things that were obviously broken. I think of the Swashbuckler Rogue's Panache feature as one that was changed. But far and away, these are what you're going to see in a future book. So if you have strong feelings about these, Wizards of the Coast has surveys that they do after they release an Unearthed Arcana. Seriously, go there and put your thoughts in. Let them know how you feel. Because
this is the
some
voting.
Of these are really scary.
As far as, like, in presidential elections, there's always a huge wave of people encouraging you to vote. This is the voting of D&D. So if you do care and you have, like, strong opinions about whether or not you'd want to see this in official content, do that. I don't think that survey is out yet.
No, it'll be out by, I think, next Monday.
But yes, right. Do you do those surveys, Jeremy?
It depends. If I have strong opinions, I do.
I do them like most of the time, actually, or at least the last few I have been doing. I've started doing them. But yes, I'd like to dive in now to the first one, which I think is going to be pretty non-controversial between us, Jeremy, but we'll see. And that is proficiency versatility. This is an enhancement for the ability score improvement feature, meaning it just makes it a little bit better, which is a 4th level feature that you get that gives you +2 points to an ability score or +1 to 2 different ones, or a feat if you allow that option. But this feature adds to it. Whenever you gain the ability score improvement feature from your class, you can also replace one of your skill proficiencies with a skill proficiency offered by your class at 1st level. The proficiency you replace needn't be from the class. This change represents one of your skills atrophying as you focus on a different skill. Which, to put in simpler terms, is every time you, like, essentially every 4 levels, or every time you get enhanced ability score improvement, you get to switch out a skill for a different one if you kind of picked one that you didn't like. This is completely fine.
Yeah, most to be frank, most dungeon masters do this anyway. If your player's not having fun with a skill that they're using, you let them switch it out. Like, you don't be a dick about it. You made a mistake at level 1, you're fucked for the rest of the campaign.
Indeed.
The dungeon masters, good DMs don't do that. Good DMs say, all right, if you really need to swap it out, go ahead, sure.
Yeah.
The only issue I see with this is cementing in stone that you do it every 4 levels might dissuade some less experienced DMs from letting players do it early. But I get why it's here. That's the only possible drawback I get.
Yeah, but on this whole, I would say there's a net positive as it codifies it and makes it clear, because I'd rather some DMs get confused than mean DMs do to their players just not ever allow it. Like, you're stuck with it forever. So I do think it is a net positive change.
Not necessarily mean DMs. It could just be DMs that are trying to stick to the rules because that's what they know, right?
Indeed.
They don't have years of experience or what have you.
These are, this is labeled a proficiency versatility. There's a lot of features in here that have that versatility tag on them, and all of them essentially do the same thing. They allow you to switch out an option for a different one further down the line if you feel like you don't like that feature. And I think I can say now that maybe a couple of exceptions that are a little bit more intricate, but for the most part, all of those features I think are totally fine and a net positive change if they were to be printed.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about them as we go. So that is the only feature that's meant for everyone whole cloth. And good, that's a good feature. Let's start going class by class and start talking about some of these individual changes. First class on the list is the Barbarian. Of course, first alphabetically, first class. This is a second level Barbarian feature that replaces Danger Sense. If you're familiar with Danger Sense, it's a feature that all Barbarians get at second level. It allows them to have advantage on dexterity saving throws from any source that they can see. It's actually a pretty powerful ability in combat. Very good. You don't necessarily need it because you can tank the damage anyway if you take it from a dex save ability, but it's still just good to have. And what this ability is called Survival Instinct. You become proficient in your choice of 2 of the following skills: animal handling, medicine, nature, perception, or survival. Your proficiency is doubled for any ability checks that you make that use either of those skills. Pete, what are your thoughts right off the bat about survival instincts? Because it's not a combat ability as opposed to the ability it replaces.
I think that it is a great option for barbarians to have. Barbarians are really frequently pigeonholed into, if we're not in combat, there is nothing for me to do. And giving them an expertise, as in expertise being the term for when you double your proficiency bonus on something, so you're very good at these particular things, the 2 that you choose. Giving them something that they can actively do and shine in outside of combat, I think is a positive thing.
I agree. I think that barbarians as a whole, the biggest thing, because I mean, we can agree that barbarians as a class in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons are really good, right?
Yes.
They've got it all. They're very strong. They put up great damage. They survive really well. They can run around. They have a lot of mobility.
Mm-hmm.
They can do everything.
In combat.
In combat, yeah. Very good in combat. Outside of combat, like every subclass has like one ability that does it. Like I think the
there's like a commune with nature
at a really high level. There are a couple, but they really don't have a lot. You're just relying on being tough and strong. So I see this as an incredibly, incredibly good addition to the barbarian classes. Hey man, you can do things that just killing things here, right? You're trading off a very powerful, mechanical ability, advantage on dex saves, very big. But you're getting what effectively expertise is the key word in 2 of a lot of skills. Perception's a really good skill, very often tested. Survival could be really good for I'm a nature guy, right? I live in the forest. Animal handling, geez, maybe your character's a very spiritual character. These are really cool things to help enhance those aspects of your character so that the mechanics can back the kind of character you want to play. And I think this is a very positive direction. I see Blood Deuce in the chat. Not a fan of survival instincts.
Because it's and I think the reason for that he's saying is it's nowhere near as good as Danger Sense. I Disagree, actually. Danger Sense is mechanically and combat-wise, absolutely. It is objectively more of a combat feature. But I think that this shines just as much as an out-of-combat feature as Danger Sense does as an in-combat feature. And it's a little difficult to compare those one-to-one, but
Yeah.
if I had this option as a barbarian, I would almost always take Survival Instincts for my personal playstyle over Danger Sense.
But I can also see a player that wouldn't, because you're taking their absolute dominance in combat and pulling it back a little bit. They're not going to be as dominant without Danger Sense. And that one time you take Survival Instincts and you get hit by that disintegration and die, you're going to be real upset. So I can see a lot of trade-off back and forth, but I personally really like, with the exception of the disintegration example, I think it's a very healthy addition.
Niche case, yeah. And
but
I also think I also think it replacing Danger Sense, that's probably a good place to put it. I can't think of many other features. One, this is a great thing to have early on. It's going to shine a lot early on, and also it's something that does seem core to you. I can't really picture anything other than Danger Sense that you could afford to lose in the Barbarian as well.
I want to say something real quick, because Cold Spark's saying this in chat. I hope that Survival Instincts versus Danger Sense is an option, not mandatory. And, of course, no, it's absolutely an option. We didn't go through the whole preamble here, but the thing that they say is all of these are options. When it says replaces Danger Sense, it means you can choose to take this instead of Danger Sense, but you still always have Danger Sense as an option. So This is not a forced replacement. This is you can choose this instead if you. So important to note that, because nothing here is taking anything away that you're currently already doing, with a few exceptions. And I think actually our next ability is a great example of that. You mind if I jump into it, Peter? Do you have some more?
Go ahead and that's enough for Survival Instinct. Go ahead and talk about Instinctive Pounce.
Instinctive Pounce. This is a 5th level ability. It replaces fast movement, so you can either pick fast movement or this. And it says, when a creature ends its turn within 15 feet of you, you can use your reaction to move half your speed to a space closer to the creature. This movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. And I think this is so good that you will never take fast movement over this, to the point where, the power gamer will, probably be upset with you if you take fast movement instead of this. In 90% of circumstances.
Yeah.
It feels so much good. So much more good, rather. More effective.
Rione in chat is saying, my head hurts from looking at all this sheet.
I'm sorry. Here, let me zoom it in a little bit, Rione. Hopefully this
No, I think what Rione is saying is they're extremely new to D&D, so I think this is just a lot for them to take in because they're not familiar with the rules of 5e. And this is a lot of very dense rules minutia, which for us who've steeped
we're passionate
ourselves
about this because we really
in 5th
care,
edition.
But I totally get, especially for newer players, what does this all mean? And the answer is nothing.
Yeah, pretty much nothing to starting out. This is all these are all hypothetical
players who played a long time.
Yeah. Instinctive Pounce. I agree for the most part. I think that you take Instinctive Pounce every time over fast movement, with a couple of exceptions, and that is if you have a build specifically that you know is going to heavily utilize your reaction.
For example,
such as the Berserker.
Berserker, yeah.
Berserker. Which is cool.
I don't know though. I still kind of have a problem with it though. Because this doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. That's huge. I mean, all movement outside of your move action doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Little known rules minutia there. But so this is a redundancy that it says that it doesn't.
Just for clarity, which is important that they do that sometimes.
But I don't once you're started combat, because that's where this matters. This feature matters in combat. Obviously, if you're doing a chase scene, right? The extra speed maybe matters if your DM accounts for that, but most don't, because urban chases and wild chases are bad in 5th edition. But once you're in combat, people aren't very far apart often. You know, you're not like spread out over a huge area. Battle maps are small if you're playing with a grid. And if you're playing Theater of the Mind, it doesn't matter how much movement speed you get where you're trying to go because
you're in Theater of the Mind.
it's Theater of the Mind.
Um,
so
like
it's
let's
replacing
say
a
this.
non-feature for Theater of the Mind and only really useful in a couple niche cases in battle maps.
Yeah. It takes away, I mean, the cost of action economy is what they're banking on being the reason why you don't. And there are, especially if you run battle maps, I think you're going to find situations in which, you'll not provoke an opportunity attack because you used your instinctive pounce. I think that'll come up sometimes. Not all the time, but I think there'll be situations. It has tactical implications. Also, like, DMs will move creatures away from you more often because you're using your reaction in that way.
I got another huge note about this ability, actually, though.
Well, let's talk also the flavor of the ability and like what it does. I think that this is a fun ability. Like, I would want to use this, and I can definitely like see why a lot of people would want to use this. Oh, I'm glad Adrian P's here because Adrian P was talking about this ability in
I'm very
chat.
interested to hear your thoughts.
But Jeremy, you go ahead and say your thought here
this
too.
reminds me very much of an ability that I know not a lot of people know this rogue even exists. The Scout Rogue has, which lets them use their reaction to move when an enemy enters turn adjacent to you. And I played that for a while, and I had some interesting realizations. And that is, this ability can be better or worse depending on how your DM runs their combat. So let's say you're fighting 10 goblins. If the goblins all go at once, versus the DM rolls initiative for each goblin and then takes their turns one after another, this ability is a lot better or a lot worse. When every creature goes individually, this ability becomes way stronger. When creatures kind of go as a ball, it's a lot weaker. Yeah. And that's something that I noticed when I was playing the Scout Rogue, which has pretty much the same ability. I found it incredibly valuable, actually, when the creatures are moving independently on their own turns, and I found it worthless when the creatures were moving as a bulk. So,
and generally, like,
this is a funky one.
There will be situations in which, people usually roll as a bulk if you're fighting a million of the same thing, but if you have like a more diverse enemy pool, usually DMs will at least do the groups differently. But I think that all as a ball is more the standard. Just because it's much, much easier to track. So there's definitely, I agree with you on that.
Just in practice, like being used in the game, I think this ability actually has some issues, just in terms of like actually being played out.
Yeah, and one more note that I didn't consider when I first looked on this, which I was saying is glad Adrian P is here. Switch was talking in chat recently about this feature and how it allows you to kind of escape, in a sense, by jumping to an ally, because it specifies creature, not hostile creature. Mm-hmm. I don't see that as an issue. I wanted to acknowledge it. I don't see that as actually like an issue with the design of the feature. I think it's fine to be able to do that, because as a barbarian, you don't usually want to be escaping. You'd rather be kind of up in the fray.
And this makes you a good protector, though, for the same reason.
Yeah, but it does feel a little bit off of the flavor of instinctive pounce, because just the phrasing of pounce implies that you're like, oh, you're going up to get into somebody's grill. So I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. It is a little bit odd in that regard as well. I could kind of see it maybe being limited in that way, but it's not like problematic on that. It's a very I don't know. There's a lot going on in that feature. A lot more intricate than I think it seems at first glance.
How's it going, Max Meister? Welcome. We're discussing this new Unearthed Arcana. So our next group here, there's a whole bunch of changes and what they are. We're not going to talk about this table. We're just going to keep going through them. The next core change here is for the Bard, and it is an increase in the Bard's spell list. The main thing that surprised me here is they didn't just add spells from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. They also went back and added some spells that were in the core book that were not originally on the Bard's list, like Color Spray and Command, to the Bard's list. And I think a lot of that is coming from the fact that new Bard subclasses have evolved and changed what they originally concepted as this is what is all-encompassing as a bard. And I love this. This is excellent.
It's certainly something that the bard needed. Some more spell
they
options.
Could use some more spells. I mean, what are some standouts to you here, Pete?
The ones kind of stylistically, and I think I'm biased because of some stuff I've been doing, but the prismatics and the color-based stuff is something that kind of surprised me, because I don't think that's something that you'd immediately think in the bard wheelhouse. But the reason I was struck by it is I actually, just in my own sphere of time recently, put together a painter bard.
Well,
and
I
was
two
like,
painter bards in DnDTime. Two.
Yeah, 2 people wanting to play that. I built that as a subclass recently, and I'm curious if 5e is also starting to think, oh, we got a bard painter coming down the pike, so we got to make sure we give him these spells.
Yeah, I mean, so yours with the prismatics. I really like the addition of Mass Healing Word. I think that's like a why was that not there in the first place kind of spell. Just a really nice thing you can do with your
Slow,
level.
too, feels so dead on the money for bards.
Yep, very, very good. At higher levels, Hero's Feast. Oh, come on, why was that not there originally? You're a goddamn bard. There are chef bards, why not? And of course, some of these Xanathar's Guide, like Mental Prison, Tensor's Transformation, just are very...
Were those spells that were identified as bard spells in Xanathar's Guide? I know that's a lot. I'm going to look that up very briefly. I think one will get us there.
Yeah.
We will see.
So, moving along, we've got a little bit more going on. The bard also...
They were not.
Important to know. Why not on the original list, especially Healing Word on the list? You know, exactly, Cold Spark. I've got no idea why on earth those weren't originally on there. Mass Healing Word especially, because Healing Word is like, besides Vicious Mockery, it's the bard go-to, kind of like is part of what makes them who they are as a class, their class identity. So I'm glad they're fixing it here, but...
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff... I'll do that one. But I was gonna say there's a lot of stuff in here that feels like we wish that this was what we had done.
Yeah, there's a lot of, hey, we're fixing 5th edition in this, and that's why we're calling it 5.5e, and that's gonna get really apparent when we get a little further down Ranger.
In particularly, I think this is another example of a feature that they just wish they had put this on Bard originally, and this is an enhancement for the Bardic Inspiration feature. And the way it works is if a creature has a Bardic Inspiration die from you and casts a spell, the creature can roll that die and add the number rolled to 1 damage or healing roll of the spell. The Bardic Inspiration die is then lost. This is...
I don't like this.
Oh!
And the only reason I don't like this is because adding Bardic Inspiration to damage is the only fucking thing that the College of Valor Bard gets that makes it really special. Only thing.
I thought you could already do that with
Valor.
I thought that was... Are you certain?
I'm pretty sure.
Let me make sure. I thought that was a general Bard thing, and then Valor had another...
Well, I might be wrong. I mean, let me rephrase. I don't have a lot of feels about Valor Bard. I'm sorry, Reflected 10A. I know you love your bards. To me,
I do too.
I get dejected. I wish it could do so much more better. It's too generalist for me. I'd rather it be good at one Jeremy, specific thing.
Are correct. I thought that it was a... I already thought that was a feature that was on it, but that, I guess, is the Valor's particular thing.
Yeah, and this is just saying, hey, Valor Bard, fuck you. Except unless your class is all martial, in which case you're fine.
When attack rolls made against the creature... okay, so yeah, the other thing that you can do with the Valor Bard is increase your AC with it. So that was the one that I was... Yeah, I was thinking it was that one and not the first one. So yeah, I mean, I know, I get what you're saying a bit, and that does dampen it a bit for me.
I'll be frank. I think Blood is saying in the chat, TBH Lore Bard needs to be absorbed into the base Bard. I think actually Valor Bard needs to be absorbed into the base Bard. Everything in Valor, just make that part of the base Bard. We're set. Everything's great.
I am more a fan of the Lore Bard getting in, because I just feel like...
But I think you're right, it's more fun. But But
Yeah,
that
it's
makes
just
it
everything
special,
in
it's got
there
cool stuff.
I'm unwilling to sacrifice when I play a bard. Do you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
fair. I mean,
I,
additional magical
the
secrets.
additional magical secrets and like cutting words feels to me so much a part of what it means to be a bard. But these are aside the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying on magical inspiration, and that definitely
It just is
um,
really weird that this wasn't a
changes a
buff
bit
to
for me.
the Valor specifically.
Yeah. Spell versatility is
Yeah.
our next feature, another bard, which enhances the spellcasting feature. Whenever you finish a
I was
long,
like, I'm waiting for you,
I
man.
thought you were going to do it. Whenever
No.
you finish a long rest, you can replace one spell you learn from this spellcasting feature with another spell from the bard list. The new spell must be the same level as the spell that you replace. Not going to be.
We said it
Again,
before. Yeah, we'll say it again. Just good DMs were doing this anyway.
Yep, they wish that this was what was in the rules originally.
Yeah, I will say, long rest is actually a pretty huge upgrade for this ability. Good DMs were doing this like, yeah, when you level up or if you don't like a spell, long rest is huge. Actually, I think this is a pretty serious.
Yeah, definitely bigger than the last one, but great.
And that's all bards get.
Yep.
So I actually I don't want to skip past this too much actually, because here's the thing, right? The thing about bards is supposed to be good at a lot of different things, but they're very focused spell choices. Like means that they have to pick a couple of things that they're good at. Letting them switch it out on a long rest, I think this is actually really big. I think this is actually way bigger than we just gave it credit for.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Also, I think those bard spells are nothing to shake a stick at either, because they have a lot of issues. I think bards with redundancies in their spells. Do you know what I mean by that? They get a lot of spells that feel like they do the same thing. So even though you have like more options, a lot of times it's like, do I pick between this thunder damage or this thunder damage? Do I pick between this charm, this charm, this charm, or this charm? So it's nice to have some more that are like actually meaningfully different from each other.
Well, it's also nice if you know you're going into a town. Hell, I won't get shatter. I won't have shatter because we're going into a town. Yeah. Oh, we're going out adventuring? I'll take shatter again.
Give me back my shatter.
Because they're a chosen spell class, a learned spell class, those choices of to take shatter or to not take shatter is actually really big, really impactful. And this does mitigate it. I think I'm with Cold Spark. It is a little, God, the problem is there's no greater time period, but it's greater than long rest, but shorter than level up.
Because level up doesn't really feel super relevant, but
you can already do that.
Yeah, but long rest, I agree, is a touch quick, but I like long rest better than level up, although I'm still not 100% satisfied with long rest.
Yeah. Well, let's move along, because we've got a lot to talk about. Cleric. Cleric, again, gets a cantrip versatility here. And this just lets them switch out their cantrips whenever they level up. So this, I don't know why this wasn't there the whole time. Neither does Wizards of the Coast. That's why they put it here.
Yep. The spells.
Yeah, spells. They also got a bunch of spells. Very similarly, they got, to the Bard, they got a list of spells.
These I think, are more controversial than the Bard ones.
Yeah, and let's talk about why, Pete. Do you want me to jump into this, or do you want to take it away? I think we have the same thought.
Yeah, pull it away.
A lot of the spells that they got, Branding Smite, Aura of Vitality, Wrathful Smite, Aura of Life, Aura of Purity, all of those spells are hallmark Paladin spells. They are spells that until now were unique, with maybe a few subclasses, unique to the Paladin class. It made the Paladin class special. Giving these whole cloth to clerics is an inadvertent nerf to Paladins. And, I mean, a lot of these are very good spells. They do a ton for their spell level.
Yeah.
Like, they are very potent for their
That's one of the things about these spells, is they were designed specifically for paladins, and up until now, you could only get them as a paladin, or if you took additional magical secrets on a bard. But the ability to grab these on a cleric, where your spell slots are not as high of a demand, is a much bigger deal. On a paladin casting a 4th level spell, that's, you're going to get one of those maybe, if you're a really high level paladin. On a cleric, you can toss out a 4th level spell on one of these really significant effects. So they were a bit overstated in that regard.
And I think Danae said a great thing in chat here. I'm a full caster paladin. Well, yeah, right? This
Yep.
gives so much more, what do you call it? I think it's more legitimacy, right, to playing a war cleric. War clerics are already good. I mean, they're fine. But if you want to actually use your melee weapons and use your bonus actions to heal or do things, I mean, all of these spells are bonus action spells. Aura of Vitality, Wrathful Smite, Branding Smite, Aura of Life, Aura of Purity, all bonus action spells. If you want to use your action to hit and use your bonus action to cast magic, these are the way to do it. This legitimizes, I think, a lot of Warcaster play in a way that isn't just, well, what any other cleric is going to do, which is holy weapon, melee attack forever. I really like these changes personally. I know some people are going to hate them, but I think these are very healthy.
I'm undecided on them yet, but I'm leaning towards positive. And why in God's name did clerics not have power word heal up until now? It does.
Bard only spell.
Yeah, I was going to say it does bum me out a little bit that the bards are losing one of their only spells, which there's not enough bard only spells. But power word heal is a cleric spell.
So the bards lost power word heal. I'm sorry, the clerics got power word heal, but the bards didn't get mass heal, which is the cleric only 9th level spell.
And mass heal feels more like a bard thing, and power word heal feels more like a cleric thing to me.
Yeah, so I don't know, some funky. Anyway,
let's talk
about the next feature.
Yeah,
take it away?
Sure. Channel Divinity Harness Divine Power is a 2nd level feature that is just a buff for your Channel Divinity. You can expend a use of your Channel Divinity to fuel your spells. As a bonus action, you touch your holy symbol, utter a prayer, and regain 1 expended 1st level spell slot. So, this Channel Divinity lets you, as a bonus action too, so you can cast the spell on the same turn, get an additional spell slot instead of whatever your Channel Divinity is. I think that this is fine.
You know, a lot of people will look at this and say, well, it's not really that impactful on a cleric, right? It's a 1st level spell. Only ever a 1st level spell. And it's not, except for at early levels. And the only reason I say that is because if you look at the Circle of Land Druid or the Wizard subclasses, each of them have as a long rest, you can regain some spells. And at lower levels, it's a 1st level spell. So this is just saying, as a cleric, you can just do it way better.
And sometimes Channel Divinity can be a little bit niche. So it's nice to have a more generally usable option for it.
Yeah, I think this is great, is really what I want to get around to. But I feel like this is going to really shift, especially low-level play, to really heavily empower clerics, as opposed to other spellcasters like sorcerers or wizards, especially wizards, because clerics are just going to have more spells. So I think that's actually a really important thing.
Blessed Strikes. Uh-oh. Whoa-oh.
Whoa-oh.
I think Blessed Strikes is whoa-oh.
Whoa-oh? Pete!
Jeremy, this is may I take this one away?
I just want to tell you, this is one of my favorite features in here. I was using this anyway in my home game.
Oh, Jeremy, I agree that I think this is right, but I think there's just a typo in here that they don't realize.
Sure.
In battle, you are blessed with Divine Might. When a creature takes damage from one of your spells or weapon attacks, you can also deal 1d8 radiant damage to that creature. Once you deal this damage, you can't use this feature again until the start of your next turn. Jeremy, it says spells right now.
Yeah.
Not cantrips.
Oh, shit. Never mind. Screw this. This is dumb.
Yeah, it's I think that they messed up because I think this is supposed to be cantrips, at which point it is a difference between Blessed Strikes would be the difference between the Divine Strike, which gives you 1d8 and then scales up to 2d8 later on, or Potent Spellcasting, which lets you add your Wisdom to your cantrip damage.
And just as a note, this replaces that feature.
Yes.
Is an important thing to note.
So if you're going to be moving back and forth, using your cantrips sometime, using your weapons sometimes, this is a more fun option that lets you get a little bit more bang for your buck on either and doesn't pigeonhole you into one.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a replacement. Because when certain subclasses of clerics have Divine Strike, and some have potent spell casting. And the idea is, well, the clerics are supposed to be, this one's supposed to be melee. And it's like, well, what if I want to play my Grave Cleric as a spellcaster and not a melee character, Wizards of the Coast? Is my fun wrong? And this is them admitting, no, your fun's not wrong. We were wrong to tell you that you had to play this as melee.
Halo Dude 73 is saying cantrips count as level 0 spells. Yes, this does apply to your cantrips. The thing that's the issue is it applies to your spells too, which it shouldn't. As I was just thinking about it, I'm sure there's other equally busted things you could do. The first thing that I was thinking of was magic initiating the spell Magic Missile to deal an extra 8d8 with the way that this is worded when you cast Magic Missile, if you cast it at a high level, for free without doing it. Yeah, there's a lot of issues with this as it reads, but if it was cantrips, which I think is what it's supposed to be, it's great. It's slightly lower on average on the cantrip side of thing, a little bit more significantly lower for the scaling on the weapon, but it's a fun option.
Well, once you deal this damage, you can't use a feature again until your turn. So it should only apply once, is what they're trying to get down. The problem is, I agree, it should only be on cantrip. I mean, it should be a cut and paste replacement to these existing features. It doesn't need to buff spellcasting clerics. Because right now, this buffs spellcasting clerics and nerfs martial clerics. I'm sorry, not nerfs, just is the same for martial clerics.
Yeah.
And really, martial clerics need the buff, not spellcasting.
It shouldn't be the thing. But you're right, I was incorrect on that one. The can only deal the damage once. I did not interpret that right.
But regardless, overall, good concept. I just think it needs to get reined back. Let's talk about the Druid. Druids get cantrip versatility. We learned it before. We learned it again. You get new cantrips each level if you want. Very good.
No problems here.
Yeah, a lot of Druids are going to take Shillelagh at early levels because it's very good at early levels, and they're going to not want it at level 7. And okay, sure, you get rid of Shillelagh. Fine. Good change. They also get some spells. Acid Splash, Ceremony, Protection from Evil and Good, a whole bunch of things on here. They all make a lot of sense. I don't have any problems with any of them.
Anything you want to talk about here? I don't actually have anything on this. I'm surprised
that's weird, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, it feels maybe a little bit out of flavor, even though it's, an elemental damage. I get you on that one. Mass Polymorph is something that I'm really surprised they didn't get originally. That's such a druidy thing.
Well, they have animal shapes, I think.
Turn them all into animals?
No, they have an ability that does that.
Yeah. Well, they also get polymorph normally, which is why it's,
But yeah, anyway, all around just good.
Let's get into the probably more significant feature here, which is Wild Companion. Do you want to grab this one, Jeremy?
Yeah! You gain the ability to summon a spirit that assumes an animal form. As an action, you can expend a use of your wild shape feature to cast the Find Familiar spell without material components. When you cast a spell in this way, the familiar is a fae instead of a beast, and the familiar disappears after a number of hours equal to half your druid level. And that's it. You can use your wild magic feature to get a temporary pal. This is something that, people were pissed that the druid didn't have this when the game came out, because traditionally, druids have had companions, like animal companions. So this is just a great addition.
I didn't know that was a thing that was controversial about the druid.
Yeah, I do have one qualm with it.
Please.
You can just use both of your wild shapes and then have two familiars.
Wait. Why can't you do that already? Why can't you do that?
Oh, the Find Familiar spell might have a rule in there about it. Actually, now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you could do that, then I would feel like...
Would you mind checking that real quick, Pete?
Yeah, I can... I have it open. I can get us Find Familiar and find out.
Find Familiar, Find Familiar.
You can't have more than one familiar at a time, it says in the spell.
Never mind. Redacted.
We both get one, Jeremy.
All right.
And by that we mean we both probably get a couple.
We gotta be wary about these.
Yeah.
Oh, I see Cold Spark got us in the chat. One familiar at a time. Yep. Ryune Fushiba, I learned there's a crack in my mic port. I don't have the spare USB. Oh no! Well, Rion, as soon as you get that figured out, feel free to come play with us. We're always looking for new people, especially on our Fridays.
Indeed, we'd love to have you.
It's always those USB ports. Anyway, this is awesome. No problems here. Excellent.
Raz651 says, so the Wild Companion only has 1 hit point? Yeah, probably.
Oh, for the most part, yeah. I mean, it's not, like, very powerful. I can see them making a druid in the future that maybe takes this feature and makes
Beastmaster
it stronger.
Druid?
There's going to be a subclass in the future that relies on this ability and makes it. I'm 100% certain of that. So,
yeah.
It's not strong right now, but there absolutely will be an archetype to use it. I've no doubt. I'd be shocked if they.
And it's nice to it's nice to have the extra option, because Wild Shape can sometimes feel, especially if you're not a Moon Druid, can sometimes burn a hole in your pocket, honestly.
Yeah, I absolutely can. Let's move on to our next feature. That's all the Druid gets. I want to just say a little prayer for our land Druid, left behind, abandoned by Wizards of the Coast, forever to be
Why have you forsaken me?
In the middle of the forest, crying alone and dead.
On the subject of things I would like them to put from a subclass into the main class, the terrains. Well,
just
not
take
land druid
and stick it in the druid. That'd be
I
fine.
like the terrain things on the land druid. I think that's kind of flavorful and helps kind of style a druid. But let's talk fighter. Fighter gets a lot of stuff. This is where we're going to start getting into some real minutia, because there's a ton of stuff going on in this. But the first is more fighting style options. Do we want to talk about those fighting style options now while we're talking about the fighter, or would you like to circle back around to them once we get to them? Because they're at the end of the document, Jeremy.
Yeah, let's talk about them later. The one thing I think we should talk about is the style, superior technique.
Yeah, superior technique is very strange to me.
This replaces a fighting style, and to be frank, it just gives you a superiority die. So any fighter can now have a superiority die.
I really actually don't like this.
Yeah, I hate this. I mean, that was a thing that was special to the Battlemaster. I would have really liked to see, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just kind of at a loss here.
So it gives you 1 maneuver and 1 superiority dice, which is a d6. In the same vein that it kind of takes away from the Battlemaster's Thunder, which their whole thing is that they have these superiority dice and they have all these little tricks they can use. So it takes away some of the specialness of that, but also it seems
give the fighter something to do.
Well, it also seems so low impact in comparison to the fighting styles. Like it feels kind of like a trap to me, because 1 maneuver versus something like +1 AC permanent.
Yeah, you're right, those are big, but I mean, some of these, especially some of the new ones in here, are very, very good. And then beyond that, I'd say something like even Disarming Strike is so powerful. Commanding Strike, letting that rogue get a second sneak attack turn, that extra potential damage is worth more than 1 armor class, in my opinion.
There's a synergy there.
I think there are bad options. I think you're right. I think there are
things like dueling, which just gives you +2 damage every turn. But the other thing I kind of dislike about it is it cuts out very much the flavor of the fighting style for me, as I don't think having 1 maneuver is a fighting style.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is one of the features I probably liked the least on this for me personally.
I think it's too little. They wanted to give all fighters a little bit more interactivity in combat.
Wait, I'm sorry. This enhances fighting style. Wait, no.
No, just
this is an option. Yeah.
That's how it enhances. It gives it an option.
Okay.
And I think that this is it's just not quite there.
I agree.
Something different. I think it's too small. It's too half-baked.
The only place I can see taking this, for me at least personally, it'd be on a champion fighter as my second.
It's good. Don't get me wrong. This is fine. But it just doesn't feel complete to me.
I'm with you. I also think I think it's a little weak still, but That's
Well, I mean, compared to the martial adept feat, it pretty much is.
But yeah, let's talk maneuver versatility.
Yeah.
This is another versatility, but it lets you change out your maneuvers on a long rest, like the bard spellcasting one. I have again no issue with this.
I like this. I think this is great. I think,
Yeah.
again, like the Bard, who has a very niche set of spell choices that are all very good, but niche, Battlemaster's got a lot of niche fighting styles. And if you know you're trying to assassinate someone, that disarming strike could be great. You know that dude's got a super big staff of power, you want disarming strike. But otherwise, do you ever care about disarming strike against goblins? No. You don't give a crap. You don't want disarming strike. It's bad. I don't know. I like this a lot. It's good.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
I just also want to say this change reflects your mental and physical preparation for the day ahead. I like that they added this is how you can validate this in the flavor and the verisimilitude of your world.
They did those. They did those in a lot of places, which I was a big fan of as well.
So yeah, let's talk more about some of these other maneuvers.
Yes, absolutely.
Rail through them real quick.
Sure.
These are just more choices if you have the martial adept feat, if you have maneuvers from the Battlemaster style, or if you
superior
took this dumb
technique.
superior technique.
Yeah.
So ambush, you get you get to add your superiority die to a stealth check or an initiative check at the beginning of combat. Pretty good.
Yeah. This seems to me very much like a if added to the list, and almost always take. Because it's just you get an extra D whatever on your initiative is what I think it's going to be used as.
Bait and switch though. This is so good.
Well, all these are pretty powerful, honestly.
They're so good.
Let's talk bait and switch. When you're within 5 feet of an ally, if you're in 5 feet of someone named Ally on your turn, you can expend 1 superiority die and switch places with that ally, provided you spend at least 5 feet of movement. This movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Roll the superiority die. Until the start of your turn, the ally gains a bonus to AC equal to the number rolled.
I'm sorry.
It's powerful. It's good. It's also fun.
More than that, this is amazing. This is the warlord, like, I want to control the battlefield and move people around and defend my allies kind of playstyle. This with commanding strike and a couple others, that's what people want. That's that realized Battlemaster playstyle.
Yeah, it's
I'm
nice
really
to
glad
see
this is here.
It's nice to see some Battlemaster maneuvers that scale a little bit better. As a player of the Battlemaster, I spent a pretty fair amount of time on that one, and I loved it when I took it, and I had so much fun. And then it really fell off for me, and I got really kind of like bored of the options. The ability to switch them up and to have some of these more like universally powerful, like bonuses to AC for allies, is I think a really positive change.
Let's talk about Brace. I love this one too.
Take it away.
Yeah, when an enemy you can see moves to within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to expend 1 superiority die and make 1 weapon attack against the creature. If the attack hits, add a superiority die to the attack's damage roll. For me, this is just so flavorful. I imagine like my Dragonborn fighter, Brace, and holding out his halberd or spear or whatever.
It's cool.
It's sick.
No, it's cool for sure.
Of the Battlemaster fighter. Just very good.
There's I think some like multi-class implications with a lot of this.
Yeah, we're not going to worry about that yet, though.
But in the context of, I mean, like, it synergizes really well with paladins and with rogues, but just as it's on its own for the Battlemaster or for a fighter, I think it's really cool too. I really like this.
I love it. Restraining Strike, this one I hate.
Yeah. Immediately after you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack on your turn, you can expend 1 superiority die and use a bonus action to grapple the target. I was about to say sorority die, which is a whole nother feature that they should add to 5e. Add the superiority die to your strength athletics check. The target is also restrained while grappled in this way.
Interesting note here. I wanted to say it does have to obey the rules for grappling. It has to be a melee weapon attack. So you have to use a one-handed weapon and not be using a shield. You can't use a two-handed weapon, and you can't be using a shield because you need an open hand to grapple. So that's here, but people forget these things a lot of the time. I don't think this is as busted as I thought, but I still hate it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird. It's weird because on a class resource, right? You only have so many superiority die. I think giving them a way to restrain via grapple is like giving them a spell. It's just a melee spell, and I like that. I like that side of it. I just hate grappling as a thing. I think grappling is just badly designed.
Jeremy, I was thinking about this earlier because I was thinking a lot about grappling.
Sorority die sounds like a DnDTime adventure. Thank you, Cold Spark. You saying, Pete?
I was thinking a lot about grappling, and this is completely unrelated, and just let this simmer in the back of your mind. How would you feel better about grappling if it was a bonus action to break out of a grapple?
Yeah, that'd be great. Totally fine. Or just one of your attacks.
That was my solution to help grappling that I was thinking of today. But this is neither here nor there. Let's talk about that another time.
Let's talk about Silver Tongue.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this one.
Please, Pete. This is for all your speciality.
As you can tell by my sorority die and when you're in 5 feet of an alley. Silver Tongue, when you make a charisma deception check or a charisma persuasion check, you can expend 1 superiority die and add the superiority die to the ability check.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's a fine option for people that are interested in it.
And I just want to know, the Cavalier, I think, gets proficiency with these. Am I right? Or expertise, I think?
You may or may not be right. I don't know that class that well.
I can see this being a reason to have superior technique on that class. Is because you want to have the Silver Tongue feature for your fighter that's all focused about being, being a Silver Tongue sleep.
And you know what? I've come around at least on the idea that a battle master should be the only one that can have maneuvers. I don't know. I guess I'm okay. It's not that I think that other classes can't have them. It's if they have them, the battle master has to have a lot more of them than the other classes, and the other classes have to have enough to be useful. I'm sorry, Adrian P has corrected me. It was a samurai that gets those features. Thank you. Let's talk about Snipe. Yeah.
As a bonus action, you can expend 1 superiority die to make a ranged weapon attack. You can draw a thrown weapon as part of making this attack. If you hit, add a superiority die to the attack's damage roll. Okay.
This doesn't. My thing with this is this doesn't feel like sniping to me.
Yeah, and not at all. This feels like
make a bonus action attack. Kind of. If you're going with a ranged fighter. It's a thrown weapon too.
I don't like this.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me either. I don't think it's super flavorful.
Bad. IMO. It is something to do with your bonus action, which fighters do sorely lack unless they're 2-weapon fighting.
It's it's not a bad just to have an extra attack sometimes, but
it's mechanically strong. I just don't like. Also, hello, Ivalon. Welcome, my friend.
Welcome, Ive. It's good to have you. Cold Spark says Snipe and Brace. I like Brace.
Brace is excellent.
I think Brace is cool. Snipe, I'm with you on though.
It feels like a headshot.
Oh, and by the way, Jeremy, you were right. The Cavalier also gets Persuasion.
I knew it. Duty side.
When you make a Wisdom Insight check or an Intelligence Investigation check, you can expend 1 superiority die and add the superiority die to the ability check. Just like Silver Tongue in a lot of ways, I'm very much cool with this.
Yep, no problems.
If this is your thing, then cool.
Yeah, so that brings us out of the fighter. Overall,
into the monk.
Pretty decent changes to the fighter, or improvements overall.
Yeah,
weird at the beginning, but overall solid. It's mostly the Battlemaster fighter actually that got stuff, which I'm okay with.
Well, it's like it almost seems the way this is built, they're hoping that people stop taking fighting styles and start taking superior technique, which is another weird thing. Anyway, let's
monk.
Let's talk monk.
Yeah, monks gain the following features. Monk weapons, this enhances martial arts. And you can use this feature to define your monk weapons rather than using the definition in martial arts. You practice your martial arts with specially chosen weapons which become monk weapons for you. You can choose a number of weapons equal to your 5 plus your wisdom modifier, minimum of 5 weapons. The chosen weapons must each meet the following criteria. They must be simple or martial weapons. You must be proficient with the weapon, and the weapon must lack these properties: heavy, special, or two-handed.
I haven't looked over all the weapons and thought about the implications of this, but
I have not either.
in the kind of the back of my mind, I don't really see any problem with it. Cold Spark is saying ranged monks are a thing now, which I don't know if that's bad.
Yeah. I mean, bow. You could use a bow. I don't think that's bad at all. Personally, that they already can't use their unarmed strikes, unranged attacks. Honestly, this seems fine to me. The place I think this actually changes something is with a character that multi-classes into rogue,
Into monk.
that wants to keep their old weapon that they've been using, I think.
You mean the character that multi-classes into monk?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. I didn't know if there was like a rogue thing.
Yeah, if you were like a rapier-wielding monk, Adrian P said it in chat, right? An rapier-wielding rogue that cross-classes into monk, well, that's now a monk weapon for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that changes much of anything.
Yeah, it gives you a one-handed D8.
Yeah, I mean,
instead of the two-handed quarterstaff, which was the standard. You
get that with higher monk weapons. I mean, and as
yeah,
a monk with a quarterstaff, you can get that at level 1. So I don't see where this breaks anything.
No, I think it's fine.
Yeah, you can use, I guess, what, a short bow isn't martial, I think.
No, it can be a martial weapon. It could be oh well, no, longbow is a heavy weapon.
I guess the idea would be if you were a variant human and you took the proficient feat at level 1 to get like halberds and shit. Oh wait, no, it can't be two-handed. I don't know. I'm sure there's something that makes this more interesting. I think this is more of a correction to like an oversight they didn't realize that I don't realize was a thing. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. It seems fine to me.
Yeah, I don't see any glaring issues. Chat, let us know if there are.
Yeah, please do. I want to talk.
And I will say, actually,
strike. Oh,
chat did say one thing, and that's this is sort of stepping on the Kensai's toes a little. And again, haven't looked at that very deeply, but if that's the case, I'm interested. Oh, blowgun monk, our blowgun monk Pete. This ruins everything.
Absolutely busted.
Let's talk about Kai Fueled Strikes. Do you want me to take this one, Pete, or do you want to take it?
You go ahead, Jeremy, take it.
Kai Fueled Strikes. If you spend 1 key or more as part of your action on your turn, then you can immediately make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. This enhances your key feature. This is really great. I'm so glad this is in here because this is just a fix for, hey guys, we made monks that do things that might not just be normal attacks, and this is a fix so that they can use their unarmed strike like monks are supposed to do. So this is fine.
You got people calling out your Kai.
Kai?
You were saying Kai Fueled Strikes. Yeah, it's
whatever.
Key. Well, I thought you were just messing with people because you switched it back to Key almost immediately.
Yeah, well, chat, I don't care. I don't have any strong opinions one way or the other. I mispronounced it. My apologies.
Oh.
You know, I'm not a good worder.
Jeremy,
if
you should have said that. You should have said that.
You know that I'm not a wordsmith. I'm a blah 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 blah.
I bubble all the time. I bubble.
I apologize.
I don't know. Yeah, cool. I don't know. I don't have much to say about this. It's cool.
How about we talk about the Kai features?
I'm going to talk about these KIF features. When you gain the KIF feature at 2nd level, you get access to the following features. Distant Eye. When you make a ranged weapon attack, you can spend 1 key point to prevent attacking at long range from imposing disadvantage on your attack rolls until the end of the current turn. The second is Quickened Healing. As an action, you can spend 2 key points and roll a martial arts die. Your gain number of hit points equals the number rolled. These, I think, are both cool and totally fine additions. I don't think they're just utility options. It's cool.
I think Quickened Healing is terrible. Like, mechanically, that's just not worthwhile at all. The value, that's not, no. Bad. Very, very bad feature. I think they should actually remove it rather than keeping it, because this is a super trap at 2 key points.
Oh, Quickened Healing?
Yeah. I think at this point, it's so bad that, like, I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah, that's a fair point. It's
so
like it has no reason. In the back of my mind, I was thinking like, yeah, I'll never use it, but I guess it doesn't matter that it's there. But it's a good point that it might trap people into thinking that it's a good idea, especially like even at late game. It's 2 key points for best case scenario 1d10 plus wisdom.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
wait,
and actually,
no, it's not even plus
wisdom.
wisdom.
And that's what Adrian's saying. It should be plus wisdom. I think with the wisdom modifier, this is a lot more.
I agree, but even then, it's close though.
I think it's worth having as a like worst case scenario. We're holding down the door that's being bashed down by orcs situation. But anyway, I want to point out something said in chat here because Cold Spark pointed out actually why this ability is good. This monk weapons feature. If you want to be a dwarf and you want to use a dwarf monk with your warhammer, you can do it now. Love it. Class fantasy. Let's go. You can choose your warhammer to be one of your monk weapons.
That is pretty cool.
Good change. Good point. Thanks for pointing that out, Cold Spark. I hadn't really realized it. Distant Eye. How did you feel about that one, by the way, Pete?
Yeah, it feels monkey.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
I agree.
Let's talk about. All right, that's all for monk. Once again, I'd like to say a word for our poor Way of the Four Elements monk. They've gone the way of no elements to be left forever in the, I would say cold, but empty, meaningless void of non-existence.
Right next to that land druid. Now,
Pepperoni.
I'll say this in the same vein that we've talked about how we should absorb the lore and the land into the main class. I don't think you should absorb the Way of Four Elements monk into the main class.
I agree. You should just let that one float away on its little iceberg.
Give it a new.
Great
Way
of Four
Adrian
Elements can now
pieces.
punch the bonus action.
That's a fair point.
Great point, Adrian. Actually, that is actually like worth noting, but I would have liked to have seen something to address the core issues of the Four Elements.
You know what I would like to see is Blessed Warrior. Oh, well, Paladin also gets more fighting style options. They get the options that everyone else is going to get, and I guess we're going to go through those at the end. But they also get Blessed Warrior, which is you learn 2 cantrips of your choice from the cleric spell list. They count as Paladin spells for you, and Charisma is the spellcasting ability for them. When you gain a level in this class, you can replace one of these cantrips with another cantrip from the cleric spell list. I
love this. Yeah, I like this a lot. I think this is actually quite good. I think a lot of people would say, like, oh, but my +1 to AC all the time. Hell, dude, they don't have ranged options. Taking that Toll the Dead is so good.
Wait, what do you mean +1 to my AC?
For defense fighting style.
I thought this was just a thing they got. It's a fighting style.
No, they get to choose instead of their other fighting style.
Oh.
Yeah. And, yeah. This is a fighting style.
I thought they just got that, and I was cool with it like that.
And Adrian was saying every paladin will take Toll the Dead. That's the problem. I don't think they will. I think every paladin that's playing optimally will take Toll the Dead. I think you're correct. But I
don't even know if that's true.
That, just to have a range option that's good, I think it is true. Because otherwise, they're just out in the cold. And Toll the Dead is really good.
That is the pick. So, I mean, if we're talking to which one you'd pick, it would be Toll the Dead. Yeah. But, like,
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I can still people wanting to have their fighting style. I like this, too. I thought they just got it, and I was cool with it like that. And I'm almost, like, a little disappointed that you don't just get cantrips on Paladin now, because...
I don't know. I like this as a trade-off. I think it's a very good trade-off. For a class, it was already the top of the top.
That's fair. It's not like Paladin needed love. It's just like cantrips are so fun, and a lot of the time they're more like RP things than important things. Anyway,
Flame does have some serious value. It's just players, Dungeon Masters aren't strict enough about cover. If Dungeon Masters were more strict about cover and where it exists and the implications of cover, I feel like Sacred Flame would be a much more often utilized spell. But let's move on from Blessed Warrior and Sacred Flame. Paladin spells. Hey, look, they got some spells.
New picks. I have nothing to say about any of these. Yeah, they're all spells that you could take.
Spirit Guardians.
Same
That's
time.
A bit much, don't you think?
At the same time, I was like, wait a minute.
Holy
Spirit Guardians is a good spell.
And Warding Bond, too, actually. Warding Bond is just a +1 to AC for forever, basically.
I don't know. I got nothing on that.
I don't like those two.
Yeah,
would
Spirit
much
Guardians
rather-
is very good.
I don't think Spirit Guardian should be there. I think Warding Bond is okay, but I don't. It's very powerful.
It's competing.
Well, it's competing with a Smite, so I guess
It's
okay.
competing with Smites. It's also competing with the auras that the cleric just got. So there's that too.
Yeah.
And they also got Channel Divinity, Harness Divine Power. They can expend to Channel Divinity as a bonus action to regain a first level spell slot. It enhances their Channel Divinity at 3rd level. Another good
This is
change.
very good.
Yeah. I don't think it's as good as it is on the cleric because I think
it's better on the cleric. Are you kidding me?
I think Paladin Channel Divinities are so consistent and powerful.
They are, but so many Paladin Channel Divinities take an action to use. And so very infrequently do Paladins actually find the time and
I think most of them actually take a bonus action.
a lot of them are action.
Like the two big ones. When I think of
Vengeance is a bonus action, and I mean I know the Devotion is an action. I know the Ancients is an action. Both of them are actions. They're
I guess maybe it's just the Vengeance that I'm thinking of. Because I play a lot of Vengeance. Yeah, I guess Ancients and Devotion. Just Vengeance is a bonus action.
Or ones. That being said, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is just a great addition. There's no drawback here. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone, chat. Smite. I'm with you.
No problem with Deus Smite. There's no problem with adding it. I don't think it's going to get used a lot, but I like having the option there. I think it's cool.
I agree.
Let's go to
Especially when you're looking at like Ancients Paladin, which really doesn't have a lot.
Jeremy, we're going to the big boy.
Okay, folks. The Ranger.
It's about to get buck wild up in here.
All right.
Just to throw it into perspective, everything else, the biggest one that we went over so far was the fighter with all those maneuvers that took up 1 page. The Ranger, we got 2.5 pages of content to go through for just them.
Before we even start, initial thoughts, before we even start going through them.
It's looks so much more fun to play the Ranger with this. My biggest problem with the Ranger, okay.
No, we're not talking about problem with the Ranger.
No.
Thoughts about the content.
Hold on a second. The Ranger gets a lot of flack. I want to just say a couple words about the Ranger. The Ranger gets a ton of flack. I don't think, and I think you're of the same opinion, Jeremy, that the Ranger is as bad as people say it is.
No, I think the Ranger is actually fine. It just, the one thing that the Ranger does, I think, need wasn't addressed here, and I'll talk about that when we get through it.
My problem with the Ranger has always been the original 2 features of it, which are the Natural Explorer and the Favored Enemy. And this, I think, did a really good job of making much more fun-to-use versions of those features. I like this a lot. It's almost all positive changes for me. I don't want to say all, because I don't remember all of it perfectly, so I want to go back through it with you now. But
yeah,
positive vibes on this.
I agree. I mean, I'll be real. The big problem, I mean, something important to me, an ability that has an awesome thematic naming convention means a lot to me, especially when the mechanics actually exhibit what it's supposed to do. So as we move forward to Deft Explorer, which replaces Natural Explorer, you get to choose one of 3 features, and you get them at 6th and 10th level. So you get 2 of the 3. And those features are called...
No, you get all 3.
I'm sorry, you're right. You get all 3. It just depends on when you get them. My apologies. At 1st, 6th, and 10th level. So you get all 3, but you get to choose the order. And the abilities are Canny, Roving, and Tireless. And these 3 features actually do what they say they do. Not only are they very, in my opinion, thematically named, they reflect that theme well. Do you? I mean, what do you think?
Yes. I agree with you. I think that this is a really well put together feature. I'll say this, unlike the original version, what were we talking about earlier? The barbarian features where we're like, this might replace it. I mean, I can't imagine a world in which if this was an option, you wouldn't take Deft Explorer, but that is also because Natural Explorer, I think, is such a bad feature. But let's talk Canny. Mind if I start us off with Canny here?
Take away, Pete.
This is the first one here. Choose one skill. Animal handling, athletics, history, insight, investigation, medicine, nature, perception, stealth, or survival. You gain proficiency in the chosen skill if you don't already have it. And you can add double your proficiency bonus to ability checks using that skill. In addition, thanks to your extensive wandering, you are able to speak, read, and write 2 languages of your choice.
Great.
Yep.
You're just really good at one of the things you want to be good at. You want to be a great stealth scout, incredible at stealth. You want to be a really perceptive person who's the lookout, you can do that. It lets you fulfill the ranger fantasy you want to fulfill. You just pick. You want to be that ruins explorer investigation, you know? I like this one.
Roving, Jeremy.
Rove. Yeah. Your walking speed increases by 5, and you gain a climbing speed and a swimming speed equal to your walking speed. Yay! I love it. You can do things in nature. What?
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. I got like a smile. I got a big smile on my face because I'm like, what a so much better designed feature. Tireless. As an action, you can give yourself a number of temporary hit points equal to 1d10 plus your wisdom modifier. You can use this special action a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, a minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. In addition, whenever you finish a short rest, your exhaustion level, if any, is decreased by 1.
Love it.
Yeah, you're tireless. It's very literal, and also just the temporary hit points thing is cool. I think people are going to really like this.
This is going to be a legitimately, honestly, Beastmaster Ranger is already a very effective melee combatant if you build it correctly. I think this is going to be a very, 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 very interesting choice of the Beastmaster Ranger.
Yeah, I was
on the Martial Ranger, for that matter.
I was actually kind of playing around with the idea in my mind that this is a bit overtuned.
Yeah.
Especially early on.
And I want to just take a quick moment out here from Cold Spark saying, okay, are Wizards of the Coast moving away from bounded accuracy with all expertise? Well, yes and no, Cold Spark. Interesting note, these features that would double proficiency bonus, they don't stack with each other. So you can't double a doubled proficiency bonus. If you're a rogue, you can't be like, I'm a rogue and I'm a ranger, so I'm double canny, quadruple my It doesn't work like that. And so this just really slots in where all of the existing expertise features already exist. And to be frank, yeah, these are going to be dominant with bounded expertise, with bounded accuracy being the kind of core balance mechanic. And actually, no, you can't, Adrian. You cannot double.
You can't double expertise.
That is actually incorrect. It actually is, Adrian. If you look up the ruling, it's the exact. But
it might be phrased as you can add your proficiency bonus an additional time.
It's not.
But
it's double. But moving on, because we don't need to get into a rules minutiae. Yeah, and of course, temporary hit points don't stack, so you can only use this feature, in between combats, basically. And I think that's really cool here, right? You are good at, and this is what takes out that tireless and keeps going, right? Multiple combats, you're good to keep going. And I think that's a really
the only thing, the reason why I was kind of saying I think tireless maybe is a little much in places, especially early on. That's a lot of temp hit points for a low level character, assuming you get we'll say a +2 wisdom. Is that reasonable to say at level 1?
You're right, absolutely. And that's why I'm saying this is taking a ranger that wants to be a martial class and saying, hey, you can compete with the fighter and the paladin and the barbarian, who all have either higher armor classes or rage or tons of healing in the paladin's case with lay on hands and things like that.
Yeah.
And this is saying you can do it too. And I really, really love that. I think this is very good.
Yeah, I think it pushes it a bit for me, but
Well, I think
I don't
this is
have
why
I
it's
don't have that.
close, right.
Yeah, I don't have that problem with it. It's just close. But favored foe.
Replace your favorite enemy.
Mind if I do this one?
Yeah. Go take it.
You can call on your bond with nature to mark a creature as your favored enemy for a time. You know the Hunter's Mark spell, and Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for it. You can use it a certain number of times without expending a spell slot and without requiring concentration. A number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier, a minimum of once. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. When you gain the spellcasting feature at second level, Hunter's Mark doesn't account against the number of ranger spells you know. This is really interesting. When I read this the first time, I did not rest with the fact that it was not a concentration thing.
Well, first, Raz is saying, what if Targus is picked later level? It's still fine. It's just not as super impactful. So we're talking about this Hunter's, or I'm sorry, favored foe ability. I hate, but I only hate it because it keeps trying to refer to the Hunter's Mark spell. This should, in my opinion, I guess the reason it keeps referring to Hunter's Mark is the tracking aspect. This reminds me a lot of an ability from 4th edition called Hunter's Quarry, which is a way better name than Favored Foe. Change the name to Hunter's Quarry, please. And that ability was amazing, and I loved it. And for the same reason, what this ability does, I love. I think that this is great. I just think it's written so clunkily that it's going to confuse me. Because what it does, I love. I love that you can cast Hunter's Mark. It doesn't require concentration, because this is just what you should be doing anyway.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'll be real, as a DM, when my rangers cast Hunter's Mark and they're already concentrating on another spell like Snaring Strike or something, or when they cast Ensnaring Snake while concentrating on Hunter's Mark, I kind of accidentally, intentionally don't dock them. I just let them concentrate on 2 spells. Oops, sorry guys, the DM is coming through here. Because let's be real, this is how it should be the whole time. This is how the game should be played. I'm
not so nice. Usually what I'll do is be like, hey, you're about to lose concentration on your other thing, just to remind you. He says you can have that and Hunter's Mark active. No, as it's written, and maybe Jeremy
probably is why that is damn
Jeremy. That is probably why they're talking about your thing, is so they can't double it up.
Right. It's just too clunky. I wish there was a cleaner way of writing it. Anyway, it's awesome. I love it for what it does. I just wish it were neater.
Want to talk Druidic Warrior?
Yeah. Fighting style Druidic Warrior. You learn 2 cantrips of your choice from the Druid spell list. They count as Druid spells, and with your spellcasting ability, when you gain a level, you can replace these cantrips. Awesome. It's great. It's the same thing that the Paladin got as an option for their fighting styles. Perfect. Excellent. Keep it. We're done.
I'll say this, Shillelagh is really good on a ranger.
Is it?
You gotta prep it a little bit. It needs a little bit of work to be good. But then when you're dual wielding D8 weapons, it's pretty good.
You can't dual wield D8 weapons. Shillelagh has somatic components, and you need an open hand to cast somatic component. And so once you're holding a weapon, a Shillelagh weapon, you don't have an open hand to Shillelagh your second held weapon. And if you let go of a Shillelagh weapon, Shillelagh ends.
But I mean, couldn't you just...
Cannot, rules as written, dual wield Shillelagh.
So you need... Wait, do you need 2 hands for somatic components, you're saying?
Yeah, I guess if you were the Simic hybrid, you could dual wield Shillelagh.
Couldn't you...
You could!
Well, also, couldn't you, argue... Let me... This is beside the point. No. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. I think there's a way you can argue it as a player.
I think you could lawyer it, but...
But regardless, I'm not going to get into that, because that's aside the point.
It's still great.
I'll say this. I have no issue with it, even if that's the case. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you're right. It's still very good.
Matty Mork says Endothropes, those 2.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways that you can do it. You're right. Maybe it's better than I'm giving it credit for, if you're playing a martial ranger.
Yeah.
But I feel like martial rangers are best with dual wielding.
But I was gonna say, yeah, if you're not gonna do that, then you're not getting the 2-weapon fighting style. So that's another
but
thing. So you're trading off the thing.
Beastmaster ranger, then you're fine. Anyway, let's
Beastmaster.
move on to the Rangers. I'm serious. I really, really like. I'm gonna do a show eventually about the Beastmaster Ranger and tell you all how to play the good Beastmaster Ranger, and then you're gonna play it, and your DMs are gonna fucking hate you because it's so good. All right, Ranger spells. This is a thing that I think the Rangers needed the most, personally.
Yeah, more
Spell
spells.
variety.
Great.
love
It's good. Any particular ones here you want to talk about? I have Revivify is such an interesting one.
Yeah, that's a nice one too.
That's a really big deal. They gave more people the ability to up down to targets. They gave that to Druid too, which we glossed over, but I think that's a positive change. Yeah.
Especially at low levels, people go down. People die even a lot. And so giving more classes the ability to bring things back with Revivify within a minute is, I think, just a net positive.
In some ways, it makes the Cleric and the Paladin feel less a party essential, because for that reason, a lot of the times I think people feel like, well, we have to have a Cleric in case someone dies, you know?
And I guess Cold Spark is saying only one Shillelagh can be active at a time per caster anyway. Yeah, and I think that limit is because of the somatic. Whatever, regardless. Yeah. Anyway, all around, great. I'm very glad they got these. They're all very thematic, all very good. Aid's a little weird, but whatever.
Spell versatility?
This
It's
is... Oh, I'm
another
sorry, we
long
also
rest
forgot
one.
Awaken and Greater Restoration, which...
That's Awaken's hilarious. I love that they got that.
Oh my gosh, spell versatility! For the same reason the bards really love this, being able to take their niche spells and pick other spells. So do the Rangers. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace one spell that you've learned with another spell. They have to be the same level. Yeah, great. Just great.
I'm sorry, I'm just
trying to catch up with chat.
No, yeah, Cold Spark was saying it's written into the spell that you can only have one Shillelagh at a time. Is that
the spell? It might. I'm not positive. Look, okay, the spell ends if you cast it again or if you let go of the weapon. So yeah, there you go.
If you cast it again. Jeremy, we played that wrong for so many years!
Oopsies! I was the druid. I didn't read all of my spells. Bucket's incredible!
Jeremy, you owed me one.
let's talk about this next feature, because this is incredibly important if you're playing hard by the rules. Adrian's been saying it the whole time in the chat. Spellcasting focus! That was my singing.
Yeah, you can use a spellcasting focus. Pretty cool.
No, this is important. They had to have component bags previously.
Yeah, I mean, like, the way most people play component bags, it's sort of like the same thing.
They don't think about it a lot. I really like using spellcasting components. I think it adds a lot of flavor. If you watch Critical Role, actually, there's a player on there, Liam O'Brien, who plays Caleb Widowgast, and he really plays really hard into using his spellcasting focuses, or using his components spells. He really makes a point of bringing them up every time. I think it's really cool.
I agree.
But that's not everyone's cup of tea. So this is just a good...
Yeah, there's no reason to not put it in there.
Yep. And for those super strict DMs, you're like, well, you don't have that one. Why would you just have that? For those DMs, screw you. I have spellcasting focus now.
Jeremy, let's talk primal awareness. This was not something I would have ever expected. It replaces it replaces primeval awareness, which for anyone not familiar, it lets you sense around you. Is it one? You can pick one type from a bunch of creature types: dragons, celestials, fiends, fae. Like, there's a bunch of choices.
And you can know if they exist.
Yep, you can know if they're within a certain distance of you. It's like 3 or 4 or 5 miles, something like that.
It's 1 mile or 5 miles in your favorite terrain.
Yes. Okay.
Which is weird if you keep primeval awareness, but don't keep favored terrain. Sorry, go ahead.
This instead, you can focus your awareness through the interconnections of nature. You learn additional spells when you reach certain levels in this class if you don't already know them, as shown in the Primal Awareness spells table. These spells don't count against the number of ranger spells you know, and they are Detect magic and speak with animals for your first level spells. Beast sense and locate animals or plants for your second levels. Speak with plants for a third level. Locate creature for a fourth, and commune with nature for a fifth. And then you can cast each of these spells once without expending a spell slot. Once you cast a spell in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest.
Pete,
That's
can
a yeah, please.
I love it. It's great.
I do too. I do
It's
too.
great. Rangers needed more spell variety and spell slots to cast those damn spells. This is awesome.
It's good. It's so
Just
good.
excellent.
It's fun. It doesn't hurt anything. It's
None of these
good
are busted
design.
combat spells. They're just cool, fun things.
Yeah, that's so
Very
good.
And they all feel very rangery. Being able to always I can speak with animals at least once, no matter what, if I'm a ranger, is great. So good. So fucking good. Top
Fade
notch.
Away, Jeremy. Take us into Fade Away.
Yeah, level 10. This replaces hide and play. And I just want to note, all of these features have replaced existing ranger features, except for the spell versatility spell. So we're wholesale replacing the ranger as we go through this. Fade Away replaces hide in plain sight. You can use a bonus action to magically become invisible along with any equipment that you are carrying, wearing or carrying, until the start of your next. Once you use a feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. It's great.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I think it's actually worse than hide in plain sight.
Yeah, hide in plain sight was just like a funky feature.
Yeah.
Well, it was also more like stationary. Like the invisibility one lets you use it actively, as opposed to hide in plain sight was more of like a wait and figure out what happens kind of thing.
I think this is a great addition.
I think so too. Once again, another good feature.
This ends the changes to the Ranger itself. And I think we can say with a resounding chorus of angels crying out behind us, the Ranger's fixed. Every problem that people had with the core Ranger is solved, I think.
I'm satisfied. There's a couple of things in there that I think maybe are touched on balance, which, I mean, they're minor.
Minorly, they're pretty damn close.
Yeah, but I think it's all close.
And I think one other thing to just note is if you do happen to like, for example, favorite terrain, I could see a player liking the abilities from favorite terrain. You can keep it. You don't have to pick the alternative here, which was what was it? What was their alternative? I don't know. Favorite terrain. I don't even know what the heck it replaced. Oh no, wait, it didn't. You just have favorite terrain still. None of these replace favorite terrain.
Huh.
You just keep favorite terrain. So yeah, you're super fixed. No problem.
Wait, no. Replaces Natural Explorer.
Yeah. Oh, and does that have favorite terrain?
Yeah, that's where your favorite terrain is.
Okay, I see. I see. They didn't name the ability what I thought they did.
But I want to point out Chaotic Blue in chat saying, I like that they're trying to fix hide in plain sight, but I'd like a flavor explanation for it. I agree. Now that you've pointed it out, I did not think of it at the time, but I think that, yeah, this doesn't necessarily feel dead on for what a ranger should be able to do to me.
Adrian's saying, my problem with fixing the ranger is everyone will try the ranger once and then go back to whatever class they liked before they fixed ranger. I don't necessarily think that. I think, especially with those new spell options that you just always have prepared and can always cast at least once, this class now fulfills that I track and hunt things class fantasy that the other classes just don't. I think this actually fulfills the class fantasy a lot more.
I will go on record one more time and say I liked the ranger beforehand. I thought it was a fun class to play, even as it was.
Even better.
And now this is a better version of that. So I don't know. I'm definitely
I enjoy playing it a lot more than I enjoy playing the rogue, I'll tell you.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, like, as soon as this becomes official, if it becomes official, or if we're playing a game where it doesn't matter, I would absolutely want to try out this and play it. And I can see myself not getting sick of this as well.
So, everyone, I've been hovering over this. We're at the Ranger companion options for the Beastmaster. All right, fam. So, Beastmaster Ranger enhances Ranger's companion. This
do you want to just summarize on this?
Yeah, I think we can just say it really easily. You can make a beast a little easier. It specifies how you can get a new beast companion. It also says that instead of having a normal beast like you could pick as a Beastmaster, you can pick a very special magical beast of air or beast of the earth. I'm sorry, beast of air and beast of earth, not bear. And this takes the form of whatever you want, but it is just primal bestial spirit. And the big things about this are it has way more hit points, got way more health, it has much better fly speed, it's got good stats, it's got good saving throws that get enhanced even beyond with your proficiency bonus.
And then Primal Rebirth.
Primal Rebirth, which means if it died, you can use a first level spell slot or higher to bring it back within an hour. Which, whoa, it's almost like you can revivify your beast all the time. The biggest problem with the old Beastmaster was that this didn't exist.
And it's a nice change because it doesn't just let you do that. It comes back within a minute. So it's not like you're just going to be on like a death cycle with your beast. You get 1 minute to takes 1 minute of a casting time to do it. So
they can't bring them back in the same combat unless it's like a siege for castles.
That'd be a weird combat if they could, yeah.
And it can also, I want to make a note here, it can make its an attack or hide using your bonus action. So this is actually really, I think, an important note of, I want to hide. Let me command my beast to hide using my action and not hide myself. If you're like trying to stealth in somewhere. Flyby is a really good feature for the flight. The issue, the one note I want to point out, Beast of Air is a small beast. So goodbye, halflings riding pteranodons. Never happening again, I'm sorry. At least not if you want to use this superior option for your beast. And the martial beast just kind of feels worse to me. It only gets its charge ability. I think this is just a lot worse overall. I don't know. I think the martial beast needs some better stuff.
I agree. It felt like honestly, it just felt like it might have maybe should have done a D8.
Yeah, for its attack, you mean?
Yeah. That seems like might have been the thing. It's nice that it gets its hit dice is a D8, which it's weird that it specifies that the hit dice for this is a D6 and the hit dice for the Beast of the Earth.
Size.
Yeah, they get the same amount of health, so it's like a small thing in recovering health where it's relevant. But
yeah, it actually makes the smaller one better because it has more hit dice. Oh, I guess
no, it makes the bigger one better. It's just a better dice.
Yeah, sorry. Dumb brain on my part.
They get comparable like proficiencies and abilities and stuff.
Yeah.
Charge, I guess, is the only difference, which means sometimes you get to deal 2d6 when they charge and then knock prone, which isn't insignificant, I'll say.
Yeah, it's good. But the flyby feature of the flying one, this is so good.
Yeah. Flying is really good, especially in more abstract combats where you're basically just going to rule. The bird flies up and does a thing, and then it's gone, basically. You never...
I see what Maddie Moore said in the chat, mentioning that the primal rebirth, right? The fact that your beast is returned to life if it dies, that's kind of the thing about DnDTime that makes the Beastmaster Ranger already fine in DnDTime, is if your beast dies, they come back. This is just going to fix that for everyone, I think. It's still, they can die permanently, which I like. But, I don't know. I think this is cool.
Want to move on to the Rogue? Let's wrap up on the Ranger, because there's a lot to talk about.
I just want to say one thing about this Beastmaster before we totally move off it. I think this is just a very healthy fix, homogenizing to 2 stat blocks and saying, you can say these stat blocks are whatever you want, but these are what they are. I think that's the right way to handle something as complex as Beastmaster.
They're more comfortable with that now. They did that with the Artificer that they made for Eberron. By giving you like the little homunculus stat block. I think the reason they didn't do this originally is because they didn't want to put a stat block in the player's handbook.
I agree,
in that way.
And I'm glad they've kind of gone back on that.
Because this is just a better way of doing it, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see this actually play out, because I think this is actually going to be quite good.
Jeremy, it's almost like this build on the Ranger Companion is what they wish they had done the first time.
Wow, weird. It's almost like they're making 5.5e.
Ooh.
No, but really, it really feels like 5.5e. This isn't your normal 5th edition. This is going to change how the Beastmaster is played.
This ain't your dad's 5e.
The Ranger is going to be played completely differently than it currently does. And I think a lot of the other subclasses are going to be very similar. They're going to have a lot of very major changes.
Want to talk Rogue?
Yeah, let's talk Rogue. Pete, take us in.
It's a buff up for cunning action that the Rogue gets. It's the only thing they're going to get here. And it gives you a new discrete type of action to use that they made up called Aim. And that is, you gain an additional way to use your cunning action, carefully aiming your next attack. It's a bonus action. You give yourself advantage on your next attack roll on the current turn. You can use this bonus action only if you haven't moved during this turn, and after you use the bonus action, your speed is 0 until the end of the current turn.
Wow, it's almost like they realized, man, when we designed the Rogue, we intended them to always have their sneak attack in order to just keep up damage-wise with every other class.
Adrian P.
Let's
said
give them a way
XCOM
to do
Rogue.
that.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
I want to just point something out interesting here. Aim can be used with ranged or melee attacks, and that feels a little funky to me. I'd rather it be called
Flavor-wise?
precision strike than aim if it's going to be used on melee things or something
Yeah,
like that.
flavor-wise, it's funky, but I like that it can be used on melee. I would rather it be able to be used on melee, but the name is off. Cold Park is saying
mechanically this is like essential.
Yeah, Cold Park is saying aim is extreme on the action economy for not a great benefit.
Whoa, I don't say it's not a great benefit.
The reason that this is for situations in which you can't get your sneak attack without help from someone else. So let's say you're going into a fight and the enemy knows you're coming and your whole party is still standing at the entrance into the chamber or whatever, and you're a rogue, you go first with your fast initiative, and then you're like, well, I guess I'll go up and hit him for a D4 with my dagger and not use my high-level sneak attack. This gives you an option to get to do that with the advantage from it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can do that by... But I just want to, you can't always hide. You don't always get a situation to hide, and it depends on how strictly your dungeon master rules that kind of thing. Do they let you just hide behind anything? Or,
Adrian P. is saying, based on a date timeline, that this is D&D 6th edition. I don't think that it's the case, because they've really talked a lot about how we want 5e to be evergreen, where they're just going to keep pumping out 5e content. I think they think of themselves as being approaching the middle of 5e right now. Is kind of where they're at mentally.
Yeah, this reminds me, not a lot, but at least a little bit of D&D 4th edition Essentials, which was released a few years into 4th edition, which was saying, hey, here are some problems people have with 4e. Here are some options to fix it that are meant to be played side by side. And that's kind of what we got. But I just want to say one last thing about this cunning action real quick, because holy crap, my brain just crapped out. What was I going to say?
It's good?
Yeah. I had a problem with it, I thought. Maybe I don't.
I don't have any problems with it.
Bonus action, attack. My thought was based on what?
Is it the movement speed thing, maybe?
No, I don't know. Whatever. I'm sure it's not that critical.
Sorcerers, then.
Yeah, sorcerers get expanded spell lists, which is, they should have had, this is important.
Yeah, more
Sorcerers
spells.
also suffer from lacking spell options. That's why every sorcerer subclass that's been released since the first sorcerer subclass in the player's handbook have gotten extra spells in their subclass.
I wouldn't have minded if they got even more.
Yeah. Pete, what any standouts to you here?
Grease.
Yeah.
Honestly, Grease is the only one here that I guess Protection from Evil and Good is objectively pretty powerful.
I mean, I see Grease as a very much, if you're playing a wild magic sorcerer, it's Grease, yeah.
That's the only one here I can really picture myself taking. Because I don't really like the rest of these spells that much, except for Foresight's cool.
Yeah.
It's at 9th level, but that's kind of a 9th level spells are so relevant anyway.
Well, let's talk about what else they get. Spell versatility. When you finish a long rest, you can replace one spell that you know with a new spell at the same level. Hey,
sorcerers, you needed this so bad.
Yeah. Once again, sorcerers have very niche spell options that they got a niche spell. Do you pick that, or do you pick the other niche spell? Well, now you can kind of swap them out. Very good. Agreed.
Yep,
We're all,
no issues. Font of Magic options. When you gain the font,
take them all. Just take them all.
Sure. When you gain the Font of Magic feature, you get access to the following ways to send your sorcery points. Fine. Empowering reserves. When you make an ability check on your turn, you can spend 2 sorcery points to gain advantage on the check. Imbuing touch. As an action, you can touch one non-magical weapon and spend 2 sorcery points to imbue it with magic for 1 minute. For the duration, the weapon is considered magical for the purpose of overcoming immunity and resistance to non-magical attacks. Last, Sorcerer's Fortitude. As an action, you can spend any number of sorcery points to roll a d4 for each point expended. You gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the total rolled. Great, good changes. I like that you have these options. They are just a different way to use Font of Magic, which was a feature that was just meant to...
Let's be square here. These are baby MetaMat. These are like your baseline MetaMat. Except they're not under MetaMat. Right?
Yep. These are they're not MetaMagic because they're not augmenting.
They're like that.
They're not augmenting a spell, but they're I don't know. I don't actually feel like they're like MetaMagics because they're just like features. They're like spells more than they are MetaMagics.
Yeah, sure.
They're
great.
Adrian P is saying Empowering Reserves is bad, Imbuing Touch is really good, and Sorcerer's Fortitude is all right. I think Empowering Reserves is going to be a great out-of-combat option sometimes.
I think all these are very good.
Yeah, I think they're all going to see. I think they're all going to see a lot of love.
Let's talk about the meta magic options. Oh baby, you want to start or you want me?
You go ahead.
All right, you get some new meta magic options. Not more, just new ones. And I think some of these really give some of the standard meta magics a run for their money. Elemental Spell. When you cast a spell that deals a type of damage from the following list, you can spend 1 sorcery point to change the damage type to one of the other listed types. Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, Thunder. What this says is, holy crap, you don't get your stuff resisted. Very cool, very powerful. Reminds me a lot of the Lore Master, but actually on the right class this time.
Yeah.
Awesome pickup.
Very cool.
Love it.
I like it as well.
Talk about Seeking?
When you cast a spell that requires you to make a spell attack roll or forces a target to make a dexterity saving throw, you can spend 1 sorcery point to ignore the effects of half cover and 3/4 cover against the targets of the spell. I think it's a pretty niche one in that there's, not many DMs are, as we were talking about before, use the cover of that religiously. But it's a fine option, and it's exactly the right point cost for it. I have no issue with it being added to the class. I don't know. It doesn't excite me, but I don't think it's a bad thing to add.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool. I like it. I wish it were better, but I like it. At 1 sorcery point, though, I guess that's all you really get.
Adrian P was saying niche, no one will take over the other options. I'm a little bit of the same opinion there, but...
Well, but it's kind of like Distance Spell, right? Not a lot of people take Distance Spell or Lengthen Spell.
But I feel like
that they're there.
But I feel like the difference on Distance Spell or Lengthen Spell is that, if you're taking those, you have a spell in mind. But this is, dependent on enemy interaction and them, setting up for it, as opposed to Distance Spell. It's oh, I want to do this at touch spell at long range. It's more...
I'm with you. Now, Pete, here's my question. Why did they not you can change out your meta magic option, one meta magic option out on a long rest?
That's a great point. I'm surprised that they didn't do that.
I think that would be a really great addition to the source. But let's talk about Unerring Spell, the last one. If you make an attack roll for a spell and miss, you can spend 2 sorcery points to re-roll the attack roll. You must use a second result. You can use Unerring Strike even if you already cast a different meta magic option during the casting of the spell. I think that this is legitimately very, very good for certain spells.
Yep.
And that's about where I'm at. 2 is a lot of sorcery points. Very, very easy.
If you're using do they get what's the high level lich move? Finger of Death. Do they get Finger of Death?
I don't know.
I don't know, stuff like that. That's a really big all in kind of thing. It's good. I think it's a positive change. If you want to go that direction, you should take Unerring Spell if you are allowed to use this.
A high level cast Chromatic Orb. Hey, I see that fire elemental, I'm gonna, or maybe not fire elemental. I see that,
Yeti.
lich, I'm gonna use chromatic orbit 8th level, doing what kind of damage can I do with my other
A
thing?
lot.
Like acid damage that they won't resist. Oh, I missed. Well, you know what? How about I take another shot? I
Yep.
like. I think it's just.
Spell versatility. When you finish a long rest, you can replace one spell.
We're on the warlock now.
We're on the warlock. Warlock gets the same spell versatility that everyone else gets, and I feel the same way about it that I felt about it on everything else.
Yeah, I agree.
They get a bunch more spell options. Do you have any thoughts on any of these? Anything? They get 3 new 9s.
Yeah, well, early levels, I don't think it matters because warlocks already have awesome, unique spells to choose from. Sorry, my cat's being kooky.
Warlock needed a cool 9. They didn't have enough.
But yeah, I agree. Their upper level stuff needed some new stuff, and I'm wondering, 6th level warlocks, does this affect? Because it enhances pact magic. Warlocks don't have 6th level spells in pact magic. They have it on Mystic Arcanum. Yeah, but they don't have it under pact magic.
Well, they're counted under the spell list. Oh, so you're saying, well, they're counted under
it enhances pact magic.
Yeah, but the pact magic includes the spell list, and then they say take it from the spell list, even though you're not going to get slots.
Do they? All right, sure.
I think it's correct the way they have it. I don't think that's an oversight.
Okay. Overall, Planar Binding is a very warlocky spell. Feels good. Modify Memory, especially for a great old one, very good. I don't know. I think these are just some very cool choices. Yeah. Abidalzim's Horrid Wilting.
Everyone should get Abidalzim. Fighters should get Abidalzim's Horrid Wilting.
Also, great 9th level spell choices. Gate, Weird, Shape Change.
I can't believe they didn't have Weird.
Yeah, right? That's like the warlocky. Anyway, it's great. Pete, holy shit. We've unlocked a whole new category of... They added just another core thing packed for the warlock. Just, hey guys.
We need to talk about Talisman before we can talk about these.
Yeah, so we're going to come back to the Eldritch Invocations. As we scroll down to talk about the
Pact of the Talisman.
This is an option they can pick instead of Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Tome, or Pact of the Chain. Pete, take it away.
Your patron gives you a special amulet, a talisman that can aid you or anyone else who wears it when the need is great. When the wearer makes an ability check with a skill in which they lack proficiency, they can add a d4 to the roll. If you lose the talisman, you can perform a 1-hour-long ceremony to receive a replacement from your patron. The ceremony can be performed during a short or long rest, and it destroys the previous amulet. The talisman turns to ash when you die. That ceremony is literally just, hey Cthulhu, I lost that amulet you gave me. Can I have another one? For the last time, Antonius. I'm sorry. What do you think of this?
I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's very, very cool. I think there's an aesthetic to like my talisman of power, right? That's always exists. That's always been a thing. It just hasn't existed in 5e. It feels a little.
I don't know. It feels a little like jack of all tradesy. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Steps on those toes a bit, which isn't something I would associate with the warlock necessarily, but I don't know, it doesn't feel
the lucky talisman. I think that's such an iconic thing.
You think that lucky talisman? I don't know. This just doesn't like read like a lucky talisman to me in a lot of ways, but
well, let's talk about some of the invocations and see like what the other things they can get from it.
Yeah, let's go. Gonna go through all these anyway, so let's start that.
Yeah, so they get a bunch of new invocations. We're gonna kind of blast through these because we could talk forever just on Bond of the Talisman. When someone else wears your talisman, you can use your action to teleport to the nearest unoccupied space to them, provided the two of you are on the same plane of existence, and the wearer can do the same to you. Use their action to teleport to you. So cool. So fucking cool.
Yeah, it's really rad. I really like that feature.
Very, very cool. I don't know if that really fits Lucky Talisman, but otherworldly powerful talisman. That hits the nail on the head, and I like it.
Agreed. Chainmaster's Fury. As a bonus action, you command your familiar to make one attack. This feels like
forever.
It feels like a thing that they already should have been able to do. And now it's there. Good.
Yep, just excellent addition.
Eldritch
for
Armor,
Pact of
Jeremy.
Change. Eldritch Armor, as a Pact of the Blade only feature, as an action you touch a suit of armor that isn't being worn or carried by anyone and instantly don it, provided you aren't wearing the armor already. You're proficient with the suit of armor until it's removed. Holy shit, that's so cool! I imagine the Warlock just going over and grabbing, like just touching the plate armor and it just like almost etherealizing onto them. So sick. So fucking cool.
Yeah, it's wicked cool.
And it's really good. This is now your plate armor melee Warlock.
It's extremely powerful feature.
Whoa, this might be too much for the Hexblade.
Blood Use is saying God Eldritch Armor is way too strong for not having a level restriction. Yeah, this like
the level restriction is money.
As if Hexblade wasn't already good, give them heavy armor. I don't know, like I have some issues with this as a power level thing, but in terms of flavor, I think it's so rad.
Yeah, incredibly cool.
You have
Eldritch Mind, Pete.
Yeah, Eldritch Mind, you have advantage on Constitution saving throws that you make to maintain your concentration on a spell. This is specifically a tome feature, which this honestly feels like it could just be an anything feature to me.
I disagree. I like the idea that these different pacts really differentiate what they do. Tome is for spells and spell casting. Blade is for fighting and combat. Chain is for familiar.
All right, you've convinced me.
I really like that distinction.
You convinced me, Jeremy.
Oh, that was easy. Far Scribe is another pact of the tome feature.
Yeah.
And this.
Oh wait, we didn't talk about Eldritch Mind. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah,
no reason not to have it in there.
It might be too powerful.
You think definitely.
The problem is it's replaced like at higher levels when you were just out of good Eldritch invocations. Now you have good Eldritch invocation.
Yeah.
So like your higher level Warlock's going to be better.
But there's like I don't know. I think there's already so many good ones.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, Far Scribe, 5th level Pact of the Tome again. I love the flavor of this. A new page appears within your Book of Shadow. With your permission, a creature can use its action to write its name on the page, which can contain a number of names equal to your charisma modifier minimum of 1. You can cast a sending spell, targeting a creature whose name is on the page without using a spell slot and without using material components. To do so, you must write the name. You must write the message on the page. The target hears the message in their mind, and if the target replies, their message appears upon the page rather than in your mind. The writing disappears after 1 minute. Holy shit!
So cool!
So cool! Oh, it's so very
This
cool.
is what you want fucking warlocks to do. Is
oh, yeah.
Don't give them...
Very cool.
Don't give them +5 damage on their Eldritch Blast. Give them a cool book that people write their names in. Give them a guest book for your patron. Righteous feature.
Let's talk about the next feature, which does something very similar. Gift of the Protector.
Yeah! New page appears in your Book of Shadows. With your permission, a creature can use its action to write its name on that page, which contain a number of names with charisma modifier, same feature there. When any creature whose name is on the page is reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, the creature magically drops to 1 hit point instead. Once this magic is triggered, no creature can benefit from it until you finish a long rest. As an action, you can magically erase a name on the page by touching the name on it. Every warlock's going to write their name on the page and not let anyone else.
Actually, I'll be real. I have given a variant of this item out in most campaigns that I play as an item, just that like players would get. Because players love, if they have an NPC that they know isn't going to be in danger or something, they like to know like if that character dies somewhere or is injured somewhere or something or is in danger. That's like really important to them a lot of the time. And having an item or the ability to do that is just cool.
Yeah.
It's just really fucking
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I've actually done... Oh, wait, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I've done it in different forms than a page on a book, but I think this is sick.
Yeah, I get you. I agree.
I also really just want to go back up to the one with sending, the page with sending. No components to that, you just write. Very subtle spell casting there. Could be really cool for coordinating things. If you have a party, you can just silently coordinate between everyone via sending.
Yeah, that is very flavorful as well.
Plotting on some sort of thing. Anyway, next
investment of the Chainmaster. Jeremy, you want to take this one?
Yeah, is the Pact of the Chain feature. When you cast Find Familiar, you can infuse your Summon Familiar with a measure of your Eldritch power, granting the creature the following benefits. Can either gain a flying speed or swimming speed, your choice. It can doesn't need to breathe. Great. Its weapon attacks are considered magical for the purpose of overcoming resistances. And it forces, if it forces the creature to make a saving throw, it uses your spell save DC. Hey man, you have the Diet Crystal Collar, Blood is saying. Yeah, all of these abilities are items that we put on a Bartholomew's Choice, especially created, personalized, legendary magic item. One of our players. Obviously, the magic item that we made does a lot more because it's a legendary item. But
like, really, we call them legendary items. They're like artifacts.
Yeah, really, they really are. This is excellent.
Yeah.
It might need actually more. I think this actually might need a bit more. I would like to see this add your proficiency bonus to their attack rolls.
I agree. I mean, the familiar using your spell save DC is pretty significant.
Yeah, but
adding your proficiency to attack rolls is
like the best you get is an imp for.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Could you get a sprite? I don't think you can get a sprite as a familiar.
You can get something. It might be the sprite. You can get a
Yeah, I don't know. You
can get one of them. Anyway, it's cool. I agree. I think maybe proficiency to attack rolls would be nice.
I would always like more. Protection of the talisman. When the wearer of your talisman makes a saving throw, which they lack proficiency, they add a d4 to the roll. Pretty good. I like it personally. I like this kind of otherworldly talisman protecting you when you are your weakest.
Wait. Just saving throw. Okay, yeah, great. Rebuke of the talisman. When the wearer of the talisman is hit by an attacker you can see within 30 feet of you, you can use your reaction to deal psychic damage to the attacker equal to the charisma modifier, minimum of 1 damage, and push it up to 10 feet away from the talisman's wearer.
I love that. So fucking good.
This one doesn't inspire me as much, but...
Are you kidding me? Really? It doesn't inspire you?
I guess.
Dude,
this is cool.
This is the warlock saying, do not touch them. Or like, even if they're holding them, like wearing the talisman themselves, you have no power against them. And the orc's like, and they just get blasted back. It's such a dramatic, like, brutal thing. It's so cool to me. I love that.
I mean, that is a cool situation. I won't deny it. Like
the power of my patron, or what?
Okay, let me say this. Like,
the talisman grants me protection.
The flavor is I think right, but like mechanically, dealing 5 damage and knocking something 10 feet back doesn't seem too big of a deal. I guess there's the situation which you knock them back and then they lose a multi-attack, which is not insignificant.
I think this should probably do more damage, comparing it to, for example, Agonizing Blast, right? Which is another does damage thing. It probably should be more. I would have liked to see this just have the damage roll of Hellish Rebuke, 2d10.
That might be.
You use it how many times? Once? Oh no, you can just do react. You just every time.
Yeah, you just do this every time.
This is sick.
I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. The flavors there on Rebuke the Talisman for me, but so it's cool. I'm not gonna like completely dunk on it. I think it's got some cool stuff happening, but it doesn't do it for me personally.
I gotcha. I'm really into this talisman thing. It's very inspiring to me.
Farful's saying he's also got a big talisman. I don't know. The talisman didn't get me right.
So let's wrap up. We're at the end of Warlock. Overall, phenomenal. All great.
Yeah, for sure.
All great additions. Hard stop. I mean, I think you're right. Maybe like a bigger knockback or more damage on that. I don't know. Let's talk Wizard. Wizard starts with cantrip versatility. Whenever they level up, they can replace a cantrip. Pretty typical of all the other versatilities. A great addition. Good dungeon masters were doing things like, well, even like, I wouldn't even say you're not, I'm not trying to say that you're a bad dungeon master if you weren't doing that. Let me square that away. But if your player was having a rough time, an insightful dungeon masters, right, that like knew their players well and their players were communicating effectively to them that they didn't like what they were doing, were already doing this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
The letting people switch out stuff they don't like. So I don't know. I love
agreed.
it. Great addition.
So another thing, more spells for the wizard, which they did, not that they needed them, but I think some of them are pretty flavorful. Like, I don't see any reason why the wizard shouldn't be able to use it. Augury, Enhance Ability, Speak with Dead, Divination. Those all do feel pretty wizardy to me and like ritualistic, which is what the wizard's about. So I feel it.
And that's
More
it.
rituals for the wizard is a buff because they're so good with rituals, but also like it's fun too. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm interested about this. So I noticed it says the like type of spell, like transmutation, divination. Is it only for those subclasses? It's not
I
clear.
don't think it is. Did it not do that on the other? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's not clear.
I
Do you only get enhanced ability on transmutation wizards? Why did necromancy wizards not already have speak with dead?
I
All
don't
questions the world may never know.
think that's necessarily the case. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Coldpark is saying school matters for wizards. Yeah, because the way they copy things in, but
yeah, and yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, let's roll up. It's not clear. We'll figure it out.
and our
It'll be clear when it comes out.
our final chunk here is fighting styles, which we've talked about a little bit, but we're coming back to these new fighting styles. We got martial versatility, which is a thing that allows you to change out your fighting style every time you gain a level. Same as the other versatilities. No reason not to have it. Cool. Great.
Very good.
Yep.
And, let's talk about
see.
some of these style options, because that's our next option.
Tell me you, Jeremy, but for me, the one that like people always don't want after they realize like it's not quite what they thought it was is protection.
Yep, absolutely.
It's always
People
like, oh, this isn't like making me protect people in the manner that I want, and letting people making it clear that they can do that is cool. Yeah, the style options, sure. Want to do blind fighting?
Sure. And these are options you can choose instead of one of their existing fighting styles, and it's anyone, right? It's not just fighters. Anyone can do this. Fighter, paladin, or ranger. So this is huge because previously a lot of these only had like 2 or 3 options. We're almost doubling their options. So blind fighting. Being unable to see a creature doesn't impose disadvantage on your next attack on your attack rolls against it, provided the creature isn't hidden from you. This is really interesting because it's like I could see this as like a human that doesn't have dark vision somehow, that's like often skulking around in the dark because their party all has dark vision, and they're like, oh, fuck it, I just don't want to be bad at what I'm doing. But it's like, I don't know. I don't like this.
It just feels like they're making up for something rather than giving you something cool. I don't get why this was an addition and why they felt like this was a fighting style they needed. Like, I don't know if it was like a desire to fill the archetype of like the blind warrior, which is definitely like a thing. Like, I think of Lee Sin, the blind monk, from League of Legends. Like, if they wanted to make that,
you know what? Blood made a great point here in the chat. When you have a dumbass warlock in the party that won't stop casting darkness. Actually, though, or fog cloud if you got the wizards that are always in their fog cloud. Maybe this does have more value than I'm giving it credit for. It just feels very meta. I don't know. I'm not super into it.
Interception. When a creature you can see hits a target that is within 5 feet of you with an attack, you can use your reaction to reduce the damage the target takes by 1d10 plus your proficiency bonus to a minimum of 0 damage. You must be wielding a shield or a simple martial weapon to use this reaction. This feels almost like a replacement for the protection fighting style.
Yeah, I don't like this because of that. God, it's so weird, right? Because it's like, I guess this is just more often usable than protection.
Yeah, because you can use it on yourself.
Oh shit!
It's pretty good.
Oh, it's incredibly good. This is much better than protection.
I don't know. It's going to be a lot of damage reduction, like over time, especially on a class that doesn't really.
I didn't realize you had to use this you could use this on yourself.
Especially since fighters don't really have a lot depending on the fighter, for example, like a champion with interception, when you're not doing anything with your reaction, like this seems like it would become just a best option if you don't have other plans for that.
Yeah, this is, I think, actually much too good.
Yeah, I'm of that opinion as well.
I don't like this.
It doesn't feel flavorful to me that much.
I agree. I mean, I kind of get it because you have to be wielding a weapon, right? It's like, ching is the idea, right?
No, I get it, but it's not like dead on for me.
Yeah, I don't like it. Thrown weapon fighting.
Yeah.
You can draw a weapon that has a thrown property as part of the attack when you make with the weapon. All right? Everyone does that anyway. Like, we don't... That's just how people play in 5e, but whatever. In addition, whenever you hit with a ranged attack using a thrown weapon, you get a +1 bonus to damage roll. Sure. I mean, I don't know. This feels underwhelming compared with how overwhelming interception is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing strict interpretationist to the rules, obviously thrown weapon fighting is fine if you want to use thrown weapons. But very few people are that strict about drawing like a dagger.
Yeah, it seems weird that it's a +1 bonus to the damage roll when like dueling gets a +2.
Yeah. I guess the idea is if you're like throwing lots of daggers, but yeah, I'm just not sure I feel. I'd like to see this like more on par with dueling, like you were saying, Pete.
It feels like it should be, but
well, and talking about something that's actually good, unarmed fighting. Take it away.
Yeah. Your unarmed strikes can deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength modifier. If you strike with 2 free hands, the d6 becomes a d8. When you successfully start a grapple, you can deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage to the grappled creature. Until the grapple ends, you can also deal this damage to the creature whenever you hit it with a melee attack.
This is a really interesting feature. We've seen a lot of items, and I know the dwarf barbarian, I don't even know what they're called, that do damage by like contacting or grappling. And
the battle rager.
Yeah, it's just not fulfilling. That being said, I think the martial weapons do better damage is great. I just think the second part is almost, I don't know. I'm not into it personally.
Yeah,
I don't like the grapple mechanic.
Grapple, I'm with you.
Yeah, and Battle Rager, exactly, Cold Spark, and what Pete was saying. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. I think rewarding grappling any more than they already are is rough, because grappling's so good when you can grapple, and it's so bad when you can't grapple. Like huge plus creatures, grappling's terrible.
This is on a track that I like. I have really always wanted to make an unarmed fighter.
Yeah, I think it's a great addition for that reason.
And make it work well. And I've never quite been able to do it, so this is closer to that. Although I don't know if it's completely realizing what my dream is, but it's closer to that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you strike with 2 free hands, the d6 becomes a d8. Is that referring to 2-weapon fighting? Because you can't 2-weapon fighting, I don't think, with hand, because they're not light melee weapons. So you can't dual wield with fist. Rules as written. And I think that's what this is supposed to say, is instead to represent you dual wielding, it's a d8.
Oh.
But
yeah, can you not dual wield with fist?
No,
it's such an unclear thing.
Yeah, well, no, they're not light melee weapons.
I disagree.
They're the lightest melee weapons. I don't know. It's funky.
I can't abide by that rule to the point where I refuse to acknowledge that it exists. Because
this needs more stuff to facilitate unarmed fighting.
That was in an errata, right, Jeremy?
No, I mean, they were removed from the weapon table in an errata, but in the weapon table, they weren't light weapons. They just were never, you could never dual wield with fist, and it's stupid.
Out of control. I disagree.
I'm with you there. But does that mean each of your fists are now a D8? In which case, this is pretty good.
Well, that would imply, see, that's a problem. If each of your fists is a D6, I think it's
good concept on this ability.
It's like, okay,
poorly
yeah.
written, I think, is what's coming. It's a versatile feature for your fist. Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're going for, Cold Spark. And it's just,
They should, like,
maybe,
your unarmed
maybe
strikes are considered, while unarmed, you can treat yourself as a
no.
weapon. I am a weapon.
Yeah,
This
this
is
needs more love. It needs
unarmed
another.
fighting needs to be better defined.
Well, and I think that's what this was trying to do. It just does it poorly.
Yeah.
Basically, cool concept for the ability. Needs better.
And that is it.
Wait,
Oh my
we're
God, so
done.
so much here.
Guys, we just covered all 13 pages of this. This is like a chapter out of a future book. It might actually just be a chapter out of a future book, just saying. And
We will see.
I love this overall.
Jeremy, I have a question. Barring the more egregious cleric spell mistake, which I'm still convinced is a mistake.
Yeah.
What do you like? If you could just have this be in 5e right now, would you take it even with the issues that it has? Or do you think this is still too far from correct?
Overall enough good. I think this fixes a lot of the core problems that 5th edition has. I think overall it is a major upgrade. It is a 5.5e, I think, for the better. It's got some problems that I think would really benefit from a second pass or a third pass even for some of them. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it. The big issue that I have, and I'm always going to have, and it's the reason they haven't done this yet, they've gone on record saying the reason they haven't done this yet, is they do not want there to be a right and wrong way to play one of their classes. They don't want anyone to ever sit down at their table with their player's handbook and be like, let's play some Dungeons and Dragons. And everyone else at the table says, well, why are you playing that? You should be playing this. And
why is this person's...
why are you playing the Ranger? You should be playing the Ranger with the class variant. And there's not a good answer to that. Because you should be playing the Ranger with the class variant.
Because they're right.
Pretty much.
Well, that's I think that's like a bad example, but I think in this case for the Ranger, it's actually like...
very specific. It's an exact example.
Well, I'm saying like, to twist the tone of that example, I think for this it's more like, oh, you're playing the Ranger? There's some cool new stuff in these class variants that is probably a lot better. You might want to look at and see if you like it more.
Well, and that depends really hard on what community you're in. There are some very, very, I hate to say it, but there's some very aggressive communities in Dungeons and Dragons still, especially in, there's a lot of gatekeeping in this hobby. And we don't deal with that here in DnDTime because that's just not how we do things. That's not who we are. But
like,
I don't know, man.
Are you of the opinion that they shouldn't do this because it has that issue?
No, I'm of the opinion that okay, let me say what I'm going to say. Not for that reason. I don't think you should stop yourself from doing something good because there are bad people. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, okay.
What I think is a lot of people paid for a product and you've just said, hey, there are some glaring issues with our product, and everyone's like, yes, we know, we've been using them and they're glaring issues. Here, pay for this fix to our product. It's kind of like this book here, Strongholds and Followers, which I picked up from Matt Colville's Kickstarter. And it has a lot of stuff in it that's very, interesting and maybe inspiring even in some regards. Overall, I'm not a big fan of it. But there's a lot of content in that book that says, well, we're going to be covering this thing that you have to use the thing in this book in our next book. I don't like that. I think that's really scummy to say, hey, I'm selling you a thing in a book, but you can't use it unless you buy our next book. I don't like this being like, hey, our stuff is broken and doesn't play well and isn't fun in certain regards. Here, pay again to have these fixes for it. If these ever do go through, I absolutely I'd be pretty annoyed. I'd be pretty ticked off they weren't also released for free. And of course, they are being released for free here as playtest, but the finalized versions, I think, should absolutely come out, and they should not cost any.
I'm not sure where I stand on that as of yet, but I think that's a pretty strong point, and I guess we'll have to see what they end up doing.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, it's 13 pages out of a 260 some odd page book.
Presumably.
This is no skin off their back making it free.
Another
If anything,
thing,
it'll sell their book more.
well, also, if like we've been talking about, this is the sign of, it depends very much on the manner in which they're released. If it's like, here's a player content book and we tossed in these other things to fix the classes, then I'm less cool with it as like, here's 5.5. There's like two very different, and they're making larger tonal shifts. We'll see.
And here's another qualm I have, right? And that is, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? And I'm making my character, and I have my player's handbook over here, and I'm looking through it, flipping through the pages, and I'm flipping all over the place. And I'm like, oh wait, is there a thing for this? Let me open the second book.
Yeah,
I think this is a situation where D&D Beyond actually, and other programs like that, Roll20's character builder, all of those different options are actually, I think, going to make this going to be very, very helpful for these kinds of things, to be able to see all of your actual options side by side.
Well, that's why I would love this as a release in like we are making some larger changes to the system, because I love about D&D that you can have the player's handbook and that's all you need. It is one of the cheapest games available.
And that's not the case anymore.
If you have this, that becomes more problematic. And I don't mind them making like, here's a new non-compatible thing that we think we fixed some stuff in and made it a better version. I don't mind paying for something like that, but
yeah, I still think these should be released outright. But I would like, it's weird because they just released their 5th anniversary player's handbook with the special cover and all that, and then they go and make all of these changes. Why not wait to release that and release it with all of these variants in there? That just makes more sense to me. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I don't like them. I mean, like, some of the minor erratas, have they been printing the erratas in the new player's handbook?
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah. I'm even, like, not super crazy about that, but that's not a big deal. But, like, big things like this, I don't like them making player's handbooks that are 5e but have that. I don't like my player's handbook being different from somebody else's player's handbook without an acknowledgement that it's a different thing.
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe they call it a different. They call it the player's handbook too. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'm more cool with that. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I guess the weird thing, and I guess what Pete and I are coming around to here, is what's going to make or break these in actuality is how they're released and how the content is distributed to the player base. Some people aren't going to use these; they're not going to care, and some people are going to find out that they exist and look at them and be like, "Wow, I want that instead." And other people still are going to be pissed. They're going to be like, oh, this explains why I've been so shitty as my ranger compared with the fighter and the paladin in my party, who are really good.
Yeah.
And those people are going to be upset. And
Adrian P. saying, I guarantee they will add it to the new subclasses. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Well,
oh, yeah. I would be shocked if they designed subclasses in the future that did not incorporate these. Because they're kind of going to need to now. They can't design for... They can't design one new product to be used with two sets of old yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
I also wouldn't be surprised to see some more things get worked like this as we move forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, too, we pointed out Circle of the Land Druid should probably have had some stuff in here, and the what is it? Monk, Four Elements Monk could have used some more love in here too. But I digress. We have rambled long enough. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in with us this evening, for saying hello, for enjoying and joining in on the conversation in the chat. Lots of great stuff coming out there. As Chaotic Blue said, and I can't agree more, I don't like classes being put into boxes, like clerics being only heal bots. The more ways to play, the better. Exactly. So this is an excellent addition I'm very happy with. And
cool.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
We are super late. Do we still want to do the Ask Pete and Jeremy today, or do we
want
to?
We got 4 questions here from Switch. They're good wrap-ups.
These are our only questions for the night. Then.
So let's bang them out quick. First, what's the best class here? Who came out looking the best in the Unearthed Arcana? I mean, the Ranger.
Yeah, I mean, the Ranger, absolutely. I think actually the Barbarian gives it a run for its money. I think that the options for the Barbarian let you play a not just I hit things Barbarian. I really like that a lot. So
That's a pretty good point.
yeah,
I
the
also
Ranger,
like
but excluding the
um,
Ranger.
the Bard, like spell versatility and stuff is nice too.
The
Like
Talisman, though. A
the
lot of great
Talisman.
ideas.
Best reworked feature. That would be the Ranger's Natural Explorer, in my opinion.
I agree.
Best fighting style. Not super into any of them, but if I had to pick, I would pick thrown weapon fighting.
Mechanically best? We already said that.
Well, the best one is interception, but I think my favorite of them is thrown weapon fighting, because that just seems like them feels like something that should have been a fighting style. What's your biggest issue with Beastmaster Ranger as it was? I didn't really have that.
I can answer that one. Biggest issue with Beastmaster Ranger. Oh, sorry.
Bonus action attack. I needed that, and I'm glad that it has it now.
Biggest issue with Beastmaster Ranger as it was is there were trap choices. There were beasts that if you picked were the wrong choice, and you were going to be bad because you picked a beast that was the wrong beast. There are very, very good, correct options as well, and the fact that there's a right and a wrong way to play the class currently is, in my opinion, the single largest issue. Though the creature not being able to come back when it dies is also super bad, and there's a lot.
For me, it was always bonus action attack. I just felt like I never wanted to bother spending time on my beast and would just rather play myself. So there's no reason to take it.
Yeah, you either played your beast or you, not both. But with that ends our little talk today. Thank you all for the special edition of DnDTime Talks, for tuning in. Thank you, Matty Morgs. 14 months of support. God bless you, my dude. Yeah,
a lot of stuff tonight. Not surprising, as there was a lot to talk about tonight. But again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Chaotic Blue, thanks for the stream. Thank you for watching and joining us tonight. That is it. Tune in on Friday to Pete and Jeremy's D&D Time. It's a show we host every Friday where we play D&D with members of the community here. Underneath the stream, you can find a link. Our website is www.dndtime.stream. You can find out how you could get involved in play in our one-shots that we run here every Friday. And then on Sunday, we're going to be doing another one-shot of a different variety that I'm pretty excited to run. Based on it's an RPG, a 200-word RPG that I designed for the contest of the same name. That is pretty goofy, and I think people are going to have fun playing around with it.
I think it's going to be great. And Adrian P., thank you. I'm really glad you liked it. We really appreciate that kind of feedback. If you guys like what you see here, like what we put out today, please let us know. If you think it was maybe a little dry, or if you have any feelings or thoughts about it, please tell us either in our Discord, you can find links below, or a private message if you don't want to talk publicly, or just say it in the chat. I mean, that feedback helps us to decide what we're going to do with this content, and it means a lot. Like, we cannot underscore how important that feedback is to us.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, we got no fucking idea if you guys are liking what we're doing, or if we're wasting our time on things, and we could be doing other stuff to be, more entertaining. So, thank you, Adrian, for your feedback. And thanks everyone else for watching. We love you, and
I'm Pete.
Oh, I'm Jeremy.
And this is D&D Time Talks.
Good
night, everyone.